All right. We are back, you guys. I don't know what happened other than typical StreamYard BS, another glitch. So my apologies for that. Please make sure to hit the like button on this one, reshare it again. So sorry. What ridiculousness. Unbelievable. Welcome back, K Dips. Good to see you. Welcome back, Dylan. Sorry about that, buddy. Unbelievable. StreamYard irritates me sometimes so bad. Welcome back, Miss Sherry. Teresa. Hello, hello. Yeah, I just ended. Welcome back, Cap. Good to see you. It's very weird. It does that from time to time. It just shuts down whenever it feels like it. Okay, the goal's still in place. Good. Very odd how that works, guys. It shouldn't, but it does. So be it. What's going on here? What is going on here? Oh, okay. Hold on. Come on in, guys. Grab a seat. Sorry about that. Welcome back, Critic Rick, Lizzie Devil, Turtle Balls. All you guys, welcome back. Good to see you. Again, my apologies for the ridiculousness. I don't know what to say. Where is this freezing over here? StreamYard does its own thing from time to time, so sorry. So sorry, so sorry. Beach Babe, good to see ya. Chillin'. Welcome to you. Pretty much at Costco. Okay, I gotcha. All right. Mum of four, welcome. Good to see you. Now I gotta wait till everybody gets back in here to get this started again. Fizzy, welcome back. Why'd you throw us all out the window? It wasn't me, it was StreamYard. You can yell at StreamYard. Please. Please do. They deserve it. They do. They deserve it. Deserve it. We're making all you guys jump back and forth around here. It's crazy. All right. We should be good. Sleuther75, welcome back. No, it was StreamYard. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Angie B, what's going on? StreamYard has their moments. They will glitch from time to time and cause problems for us creators. So my apologies that happened, you guys. I'm so sorry again. Thank you, Meg. I did not yet see that cap. That's probably something we're gonna definitely look at, though. For sure, for sure, for sure. Welcome back, Miss Meg. Thank you for jumping back in. Janet, good to see you. Yes, please do. Put StreamYard in the corner for a timeout. They deserve it. They need to get their stuff together. That shouldn't happen in the middle of a stream like that. Miss Krista Marie, welcome to you. Good to see you today. No, I didn't hit any buttons, Fizzy. It truly just shut down. It does it all the time. I don't know. I'll be right in the middle of talking and it'll just start spinning and then it shuts down. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it does that. What do we got? 45 people in here now with 20 likes. Let's catch that up if we can. Crime Spy, good to see you. um, that would make sense, Rick. It would make sense. It would make a lot of things with StreamYard make sense for sure. Oh, I did not know. Well, then, take care, Lizzie. See you later. Let's see. I didn't even know Logan was. Oh, okay. I see. Now I see it. I don't ever get notifications for her ever. It's weird. Welcome, Dorothy. Let's see what we got. So the first thing I want to get involved in is Tomboy had pointed something out to me 2 weeks ago or a week ago about the Nancy Guthrie situation, about a adult protective services card being left at the front door of Nancy's house. Okay. And I was like, whoa, what does that even mean? That's wild. You know what I mean? So they finally touched base on this over at News Nation. Brian and my favorite FBI agent, I can't think of her name. Kim uses her a lot too. They talked about this yesterday. So um, I'm really interested to welcome Sarah D. Iris to go over this with you guys. I'm curious about this too, because I've had questions about this since Tomboy told me about it. So we're going to review that first, discuss that as well. And I will put a link in here if anybody wants to join me to discuss these things. You feel free to join me. I'm going to pull this up first. Actually, you know what? Let me do this first. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on this might be. It's not Coffindoffer. I can't stand her, Meg. You know that. I don't know what the hell that woman could have ever done with the FBI, but I question it. All right, so I will pin the link there. You guys are welcome to join me as always. And let me get this up here. There we go. All right. That's what I think she did too. I think she cleaned bathrooms. I agree with that. Okay, here we go. I don't know why I'm getting these commercials, but bear with it. I'll skip through it as soon as I can.
Okay, let me go back to Paige now. I want to get another caller in before we have to take a break. Paige?
Hey, yeah, I think we have time to get to this one. This is Mike from Philly.
All right, Mike in Philly, what's your question? Go back to Paige now. I want to get another caller in before we have to take a break. Paige?
Hey, yeah, I think we have time to get to this one. This is Mike from Philly.
All right, Mike in Philly, what's your question?
Hey, Brian, how are you? Great job you're doing on the ground. But
Good.
I just have a basic question that is there two separate investigations? And with the kidnapping, and what is the reasoning that the Adult Protective Services investigation was opened 1 week before she was kidnapped? Thus, card that was left. I'm with the internet sleuth group and crime hoppers, and we have figured this out. And JLR is we've talked to him, and we are the problem of the sheriff because we want the answers.
Yeah, when you bring up the Adult Protective Services, there was some questions about there was a card left in Nancy's door that was from an Adult Protective Services supervisor, an investigator, and a lot of people spotted that card. Actually, one of our producers saw the investigator put the card in the door, and it was after we got here, after Nancy was missing. It was like Monday or Tuesday of that first week. So people thought the card was there from before, but it actually wasn't, because one of our producers saw him put the card in the door. It's actually a woman in the door after after she was already reported missing.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased.
After she was already reported missing.
Let's hear that part one more time.
Woman in the door after she was already reported missing.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation.
Tuesday of that first week, put the card in the door, and it was after we got here, after Nancy was missing. It was like Monday or Tuesday of that first week. So people thought the card was there from before, but it actually wasn't, because one of our producers saw him put the card in the door. It's actually a woman in the door after she was already reported missing.
Thank you for watching.
So why would Adult Protective Services drop a card in the door after she goes missing? I think that's kind of odd. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I definitely do. What's up, Dilly Dill? How you doing, buddy?
Kind of seems like closing the barn door after the horse is already bolted.
Yeah, pretty much. You sound a little muffled, bud.
I've been having issues with this mic. Hold on. Is this better?
No.
How about now?
No.
No.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's like you're like in a closet or something.
All right. Give me a few minutes. I've been fighting with this thing for like 8 hours.
It's okay. I know the feeling. I spent most of my morning doing the same thing. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm at. Kind of what I was wondering too, Cap. Is somebody trying to protect themselves or something? It's weird. I don't know. It's weird. Very weird. 21 days, guys. We're at 3 weeks here. Okay. This is really weird. Really weird. So I have one more thing that popped up from News Nation on this. Hold on here. God, these commercials are killing me. Bear with me. We're gonna roll with this one too.
Does this sound better?
A little bit. A little bit.
Gotta find that other cord.
Take your time, bud. I'll run this and you can mess with it and get it right either way, but it does sound a little bit better. All right, so this is something else that dropped out with News Nation as well, you guys. It's the 2-hour theory, Sarah Huckabee, so on and so forth. Or no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. This is the basis of it, but give me 1 second here. There were just a couple things in this that I wanted to point out, so on we go. And again, please bear with the commercials. I'm sorry about this.
Wildest ideas into a song. Just describe it in a few words. Choose a style and let Mureka the 5th 8 handle the rest. With one click, Mureka V8
Welcome to Katie Pavlich Tonight. We start off with breaking news. Another possible breakthrough in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Earlier today, volunteer searchers telling a local outlet that they found a black glove like the one the suspect was wearing less than a mile.
Okay, so this just dropped 7 hours ago. So ignore the stuff we already know, I guess, that they're saying in here.
From Nancy's home. That glove appeared to have blood on it, meaning more possible DNA to test. That comes as Nancy's neighbors and friends put handwritten signs and flowers at her home to show support while the community desperately hopes she comes back safely. Others are speculating about what may have happened, including former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam, who joined me earlier this week to share his theory. He believes that because the kidnapper would have had only 2 hours to move Nancy before sunrise, she must be in this area. Now, this is a very large area, hundreds of miles here. The suspect would have had enough time to get to the Mexican border, Phoenix, or at least 2 Native American reservations. Joining us now, Jonathan Gilliam, former FBI Special Agent and former U.S. Navy SEAL, and Brian Dean Wright, former CIA officer and host of the Wright Report podcast. Jonathan, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming back on tonight. So just based on what we have seen over the past couple of days and the people that you've talked to, are you still confident in your theory that Nancy is within 2 hours of your home? Or have you seen or talked to people about maybe her being moved?
Well, I think it's always possible, Katie, that she was moved, but I think that she was probably stored somewhere, or she was discarded if she was deceased within that 2 hour range. Because if she basically they didn't want to move when the sun came up. I think anybody who was not prepared for her to be injured badly enough where she was bleeding, or that it got delayed because they were there for 40 minutes, would probably want to get to a point where they could not be seen before the sun comes up. So if that's the case and she was moved, then people may have seen something and they could go there and then test for DNA. That's been my thing all along, is that yes, perhaps she's there, but perhaps she was there and there would be DNA somewhere. And I really don't appreciate the sheriff coming out and telling people, if you don't have proof, don't call in. If it's just an idea, don't call in, because people, they could have a catalog system where you call in and say, do you have an idea? Do you have evidence? Idea? Okay, talk to this person. And then they could catalog that. It may be nothing, but there may be something. I just would not push any of that away.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since it seems like we're not getting a lot of.
That's a huge point. And the sheriff is an idiot. I'm sorry. I've said that from day one. He's an idiot. He shouldn't be doing any of the things he's doing in the way he's doing it. I just don't like how he's handling this. Welcome, Jenny. Good to see you, dear. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you very much. It's a good point too, Mike.
Information. There are 2 Native American reservations within 2 hours of Nancy's home. Can you tell us about the relationship that the FBI has with those jurisdictions? It's a different system than on a state highway or on federal property. They have their own sovereignty and they have their own law enforcement. The FBI does work with them in a number of ways, but does it make it more difficult if she were to be taken to one of these reservations?
Well, I think the FBI has a good working relationship.
Welcome, Chihuahua. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
I know several people who worked on the reservations here and that are with the FBI, and they do have a working relationship. There's always, just like any local law enforcement, there could be distrust with the federal government and with federal law enforcement. But I think for the most part, if the FBI has a request and they believe that there might be something in a location, they pretty much entertain those ideas, and they do have a good working relationship. So I'm not worried if she was taken to a reservation and it leads to that location. I'm pretty sure that they would cooperate pretty well.
Very interesting. Glad to hear that. Let's bring in now Brian Dean Wright. He's with us, former CIA officer. He has lots of experience with intelligence, obviously, given his past profession. Brian, just based on what you've been seeing in the theories in the investigation here, and with the sheriff, as Jonathan just pointed out, saying that we don't want the certain kinds of information, what is your assessment there from Tucson, which is where you are?
Let me show you why I stopped paying for all my other sample libraries. This is Arcade by Output. This thing has...
Yeah, look, we continue in this community to look at our Pima County Sheriff's Department, the local PD, as really just an embarrassment. Not only...
Welcome, Firebox. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. And yes, 100%.
For us, and most importantly for the family dealing with some of the nightmare. But ultimately, the rest of the country and the world is watching this. So you can come to Tucson, you can come to Pima County, and you can commit horrific crimes, and so far get away with it. I think that's one of the things that we're concerned about, especially given how close we are to Mexico with the cartels and the gangs. This is going to be bigger than Mrs. Guthrie. Of course, we want to focus on finding her first. But the point is, the rest of us are going to have to live with what the rest of the world has seen in this case. And I think that's the most horrible.
That's exactly what it is, too, Cap. Too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's when things get screwed up. Too many egos, and I agree with that, sir.
Horrifying for a lot of us here, in addition to just the Guthrie family's pain.
Yeah, I want to get back to the cartel angle in just a minute. But Jonathan, when I look at the map and your 2 hour theory, it's not, there are a number of law enforcement jurisdictions here. There's state police, there's Phoenix police, Marana police, Border Patrol, Tucson police. It's not that we're just dealing with the Pima County Sheriff's Department working with the FBI. I mean, if she was taken...
Welcome, Crime Rat. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
On any one of these highways, freeways, they're crossing a number of jurisdictions in law enforcement. So what do you think is happening with the communication between the Pima County Sheriff, which is allegedly leading this investigation, the FBI, and other law enforcement who is on the lookout for anything suspicious having to do with this case?
Well, there's certain things that law enforcement just does, and putting out information that to all the local law enforcement. I mean, I'm sure they all know about this. There's no way they couldn't know about it, and so they'll do their due diligence and they'll look in their areas.
There's the first problem right there. Still, like she just said, that the Pima County Sheriff's Office is still leading this investigation. That's stupid to me. Why is the FBI not in charge of this? Again, because of this man's ego. Sheriff Ding Dong, as I call him. What's up, Blue Devil? Good to see you today. Crime Rat, say what? All you guys, thanks so much for joining us. The FBI should be leading this end of story. And if they were, in my opinion, this would have been solved by now. But no, this sheriff's ego is so big that he has to keep himself right out front with this. Get over yourself, boss, and go find this woman. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
But with this sheriff's department, and typically in law enforcement, Katie, it is not the standard operating procedure for law enforcement to go from the last known place and determine how far they could have traveled, and then either notify or go to those locations and then start searching in. Law enforcement just doesn't do that. And I think this is another evolution that needs to happen, because if they would have done that immediately and said, okay, let's go and set up a perimeter way out here and then start moving in to see if there's anybody that saw anything, that would be very helpful. But law enforcement does not evolve. And obviously, this sheriff is stuck in yesteryear and has not evolved either in the way that he does things.
Yeah, Brian, this issue of the cartel keeps coming up, which is a natural question to ask. Southern Arizona, many parts of it have been run by the cartels for many, many years. There's a big question about whether Nancy was taken to Mexico. The Mexican authorities say that they have nothing so far to offer the FBI in terms of information, at least publicly, about Nancy's case. What do you think?
Well, here's the problem. Okay, that's a problem. But here's the thing. There's been no proof of life whatsoever. I still think that they took her into Mexico. That's my opinion. But Dylan, can you hear me yet, bud? Or, I mean, you always could hear me. Are you good over there? I think he's still messing with it. Okay. Carmick's in the house. Good to see you, dear. Thank you for being here with us today. Great to have you here. But the way this works from my understanding is that the FBI has to be invited into an investigation. They can't just walk in and take over. Therefore, in that aspect, the sheriff has to say, hey, can you come here and give us a hand, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Unless there's other circumstances where they can just step into it, but not in this case. He won't do that. He refuses to do that. He has to keep the lead on this due to his ego, due to his just an idiot. I'm sorry. So there's that. And that's how this works out. They have to be invited in to the investigation to help. Okay. And it's just not going to happen. We already know that. And nobody knew for the longest time who was leading this investigation. The FBI's there, but they're not allowed to take the lead on it. Therefore, they can't make decisions on it, folks. And it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. So, like I said, if they were invited in, they were allowed to take the lead on this, it would have been solved. But they won't allow that. So here we sit 3 weeks later, and this woman's still missing. If state lines, but yeah, there's that too. But again, there's no proof of that. That's the problem. There's no way to prove that, and that's where I think the issue lies. So it's ridiculous to me. I feel so bad for Savannah and her siblings on this, because this should have been dealt with a long time ago. It's ridiculous.
Thinking about tonight when it comes to the cartel angle, I've always said that, they're businessmen. They don't want this much attention, and this would get them a lot of unwanted attention, but you never know.
Yeah, look, historically, you would be correct. The cartel leaders of old, the past 10, 20 years, were certainly much more focused on exactly what you just said. However, over the past 10 years, some of the grandsons, the younger men, have taken over, and they don't think as rationally as you and I might. And I think that we've seen that from an intel perspective in terms of inside of Mexico, targeting lots of different folks down there. I know my colleagues at the CIA have focused on this cartel angle and what they're doing down there. They find these guys to be bonkers ripping out the beating hearts of their opponent cartel members. So these guys aren't rational. And I know I can tell you with high confidence that the cartels and the gangs, the Mexican gangs, live in Tucson and they live in Catalina foothills. So I think it would be silly to just dismiss this idea that the cartels or the gangs were somehow involved or aware. And you always get rogue elements. I think that is something that the FBI is looking into. In fact, I know that Director Patel went to one of the reservations when he was here a couple of weeks ago, talking about a number of things to include this case. So I think that the Bureau is on this, and I think that my CIA colleagues are working the Mexico angle as well. I know they are. So, God willing, we're going to find her, but the cartels and the gangs are a big deal.
Well, I think that's another separate question for Sheriff Nanos about why the cartels have been able to gain such a foothold.
That's kind of interesting. And here's my thought on this, okay? It made me, I thought about this the other day and I wondered this. I think I even brought it up to Kim with Typically Unique. In a lot of senses, law enforcement officials are in the pockets of cartels. Okay? We know that. It's just how it works. So I had to wonder, just slightly, if that could fit in this situation, is all I'm going to say, because some of the decisions that Sheriff Ding Dong has made don't make sense. Okay? They just don't. So that's kind of why I'm leaning that way a little bit with that thought. And I'm just saying real quick, that's all. Welcome, Cap. How are you today, sir?
Oop. How you doing, Dago?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Dylan,
you.
Absolutely, sir. Dylan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You got me better?
Yes, you sound great now. There we go.
Yeah, I'm going to be ordering a new mic by the time this live's over. I'm so fed up with Fifine. I have literally fought this mic for 8 hours.
I get it. I had a Fifine one, too, that I had to get rid of because it was garbage. So,
Am I in okay?
What's up, buddy?
Am I coming in okay?
Yeah, you sound good, sir. You sound great.
Okay, cool.
Karmic says, I feel so bad to say this. I do, but something in me feels like this is fake, like family involved somehow, or she was gone from the get. Yeah, I kind of wondered that too, Karmic, about the being gone from the beginning, or very close to the beginning of this. She was gone already, in my opinion, too. I just got a weird feeling in my gut about it. I don't know. Something's off because we haven't heard anything from the family. Excuse me. I left you a link, Kim, if you're interested in joining us. It's in the Discord. And there's just something off. I'm listening. She said, hello, did you cover Puerto Vallarta? No, I did not. Welcome, Tandy. I did not yet at all. We're just Puerto Vallarta. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not go into the good point, Kim. Thank you. If you're interested or you're available to join us, we can definitely have that conversation. But this part of this was interesting to me. I didn't even realize the way this man over here speaking on the end is that the CIA has some, they're doing something to help in this case, which is quite wild to me, but okay. And he's definitely saying over here on the end that you definitely don't want to discount the cartels. That's kind of wild to me. Okay. Because they're right there in those areas. So that's wild. Any thoughts on that, Cap or Dylan?
CIA has access to military real-time satellite footage.
Yes, they do.
And that's mostly what the FBI goes to them for. They don't want everyone to have technology. But yeah. And like I said, too, you could have, the best way to get her there would have been go to the closest airport on a private plane, small private plane, and go right into Mexico. It would be easy because you don't really show any paperwork or whatever. You just people on a manifesto if there's two people, and then there's one you could, baggage or something like that, and then you go right into Mexico.
Yeah. I think they took her to Mexico early on. I've wondered though, with the blood that we saw now, and there was blood inside the house, we've been told, which we'll talk about, if something happened to her. That's all I'm saying. John Bonino, Bonillo, welcome, my friend. I don't think Savannah's part of this. I don't think the family's part of it. This is just my opinion, but of course the sheriff cleared them all, but that's that doesn't mean anything at this point. He cleared them to the public. Okay, so I don't know. I thought Puerto Vallarta was a touristy area too, Angie. I don't know, but I might be wrong, but that's what I thought. It is very much karmic. It's very weird. I agree with you. Um, that's a good point. I don't know. I don't know, John. That's interesting.
Yeah, and the sheriff on top of everything is being even stranger. I got
yeah, and
I'll put in the back. I'll put in the private chat a link that JLR posted on X, pretty much saying that he was there the night before.
Who? What do you mean?
Like the sheriff showed up the night before.
And see, we're gonna get into that conversation, Dylan, because there's something I've been wondering about with this the whole time, watching the decisions he's been making and things he's been doing, and it was almost. And I said this before to some of my crew. I said this guy's doing things that almost makes it look like he's like staying a step ahead of everybody. He won't give information out, this, that, like he's protecting something or someone, which is very odd to me in this situation. It's very weird, but
at this point, you have to convince me that he's not involved.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I'm saying. And we're going to look at that angle of it. I'm not saying that's exactly what I think, but I'm going to tell you I'm not discarding that thought from my mind at this point.
And I mean, with this kind of case, and anybody who's been a sheriff or led a police force, correct me on this, but you hand this off to the FBI just for CYA purposes. They are specially trained on these kind of situations. Like, you're not calling the FBI for a traffic ticket. And
wow.
The FBI they have people that specialize in each department, as opposed to the police, who just got to be Swiss Army knives and be pretty much good at everything.
Right.
And it just...
Well, with this statement right here, I'm going to pull something back to you guys. We've talked about stuff like this being a distraction in some aspects, like things that come out on the news are distractions for other things. Sometimes you wonder, right? So, oh boy, Kim's answering a question about it being a tourist area, but they killed cartel leader El Mencho this morning and are attacking people on the street in Puerto Vallarta. I never say it right, Vallarta, and setting everything on fire. Was one thing a distraction for the other? That's just a thought, you guys, because when stuff like that happens, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, that's wild.
If it was, it didn't work, because the only thing I'm seeing on the timeline is Guthrie.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that stuff. That is crazy. Thank you for that info, Kim.
I think that the whole thing with the cartels is much bigger than Nancy Guthrie, because you're talking probably billions, if not trillion dollars, attacking the boats now and everything else going on behind the scenes. They're taking a beating, and these guys are military. They're getting militarized, like with their weaponry and stuff too, the cartels. So it's getting dangerous,
And it's Puerto Vallarta. I knew that. I don't know why the hell I was trying to sound it out like a sixth grader. Sorry about that. Yes, Puerto Vallarta. I know how to say it. I've said it 1,000 times, but now I fell down. Sorry, guys. Let me run a little bit more of this, because this is interesting to me. That it's interesting that, first off, that they even brought this guy in here to talk, being former CIA. Okay, why would you even attach that to anything? I'll just put it that there. FBI, sure. All this, yeah, I get it. But CIA being brought into a conversation panel is, I'll just put it there. And then we'll go from there when we get past this, because there's a couple other things I wanted to throw out to you guys that I've been kind of stirring around in my sauce, okay, and wondering if it was that. Now hearing what Kim just said is quite interesting. I'll just say that. So,
in his county. Jonathan Gilliam and Brian Dean Wright, thank you so much for your expertise. And we hope that we can find Nancy soon and that she is safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.
You bet.
And don't forget to tune in tomorrow night. Missing the Nancy Guthrie mystery, Brian Enton will break down the latest with the case and answer your questions on the ground in Tucson at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on News Nation. He's the best at.
So that is that wild stuff. Let me pull this link that Dylan dropped real quick. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, it's JLR. It's JLR's post of Sheriff. He's no longer Sheriff. No, whatever.
Nano
it's Sheriff.
Dingo. Yeah, Sheriff. Is right. And this guy has been a mess from the beginning. I like that, Sheriff. That's better than what I call him. But yeah, and Jay, I gotta give credit where credit's due. As much as I'm not a big fan of his, this man JLR has been on point with this case from day one, every bit of it. And I gotta say thank you. And he's always shared every bit of what he has. Crazy stuff. So let's see what this is here. This is interesting to me.
Up there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well?
Saturday night, you guys. She didn't go missing till Sunday morning.
And Coffin Dodger, I don't know. That's just the name the Harsh gave her, something along those lines. But Coffin Dodger said that was originally trying to say like maybe he misspoke, but then he comes out and just says that plainly. Like no, because she went missing at noon, and if you're the sheriff and you don't get there till night, that's a problem. And also, there's no way it could have been Saturday night because she wasn't reported missing until noon on Sunday.
Okay, that's when they reported it. But my understanding, though, is that it probably happened sometime like within the middle of the night or something like that. Her, the pacemaker disconnected from the account. I can't remember what time. There was like 2:47 a.m. or something like that is when they're stating that she left the Wi-Fi signal, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, but he's saying that he got there Saturday night.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what exactly. That's what I was pointing out. Like it was somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m. that she actually went missing. He's saying Saturday night. That's not Saturday night either way. That is Sunday morning, early morning. That's a very weird statement. I'm going to continue this, but again, he could be that he's misspeaking, but I don't know.
It wouldn't be Sunday night either because you'd be looking at 5-6 hours after reported missing before they show up.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's weird. Very again, 2 to 4 a.m. There's so many parallels with this case, you guys. It's killing me. But yeah, I get it, Sluther. I get it. Wild stuff.
There's also an abandoned house up the road people were talking about.
Say that again, bud.
There was an abandoned house up the road from Nancy, and people were talking back and forth about that. It wouldn't take much just to go around the house, see if there's any blood drop, anything like that.
No, it wouldn't.
Where they could, with a blood drop, they can get a warrant to go in there easily.
Yeah, and they've been back and forth. Welcome, Michelle. Altruistic. Great to see you again. Chilling. Great to have you here, John Bonino. All of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Jessica Dahlgren. Good to see you. Sausage Biscuits in the house. All you guys. It's so great to see you guys today. They've been in and out of like Nancy, her neighborhood, around her house. Talk to her neighbors. I did hear from, it's probably a rumor, but that one of the neighbors saw something that night and was afraid to speak on it. I don't know, but again, they were afraid of repercussions coming back to them or something. They've been in the other daughter. I don't know why I can't think of her name right now. They've been in her neighborhood. I don't know how many times they've gone back to her neighborhood. Like multiple times. Again and again, they keep going back to these same places. So it makes you wonder, like, what the hell's going on with those things.
It makes me wonder if someone left a note in the house as well that they're not talking about
Yeah,
in
yeah,
her house.
right. Well, and that's another thing that we're going to talk about today too. Is they found blood within the inside of the house and supposedly no sign of struggles or anything like that. So it makes you wonder how and what happened, why, so on and so forth. Great to see you, Kat. So on and so forth. But I just I know that, which I see what you're saying. Sausage breakfast is here. Yes. Um, I criticize him because I don't like how he's handled things. Maybe I shouldn't be as mean about it, but I think it would have. Yeah, I think it's the things he's done and the things that he's acted on or not acted on for better choice of terms, but um are very detrimental in what is going on with Nancy being found, and I think that's the problem. As if I was the family, um, I would be horribly upset with him because of those things. That's just my opinion, of course. So,
I actually think he's over his head.
and that's the thing. Like, it's okay to step back from something and say, "Here, please take this, handle this, help us, whatever." And he doesn't seem to want to do that. There's got to be a reason why. That's all
Look
I'm
at
saying.
look at Beach. They wouldn't let the FBI in, and then
Right,
the chief wound up getting arrested. Now all these new people in,
right.
and then found Rex, whatever his name is.
Hierman, yeah.
Yeah, but it was all those years of holding back the FBI because they didn't want them to come in and go over their files and stuff and see how they did business. So,
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
so
Um,
yeah, if the FBI in sooner, that would have been taken care of sooner. But here we are.
oh, got you, sausage. Yeah, no, I'm not by any means criticizing JLR. I don't like a lot of things he's done in the past, but like I said, even with the Danilo Cavalcante case when we covered that, he's very forthcoming with his coverage, and he's always there on point. So I'm giving him as much credit as I can for doing what he's doing because he's doing an amazing job. That's all. But thank you, I appreciate that too, sausage. Reiterating that. Um, on we go with what this Mr.
Yeah,
Sheriff here is trying to say.
this Sheriff Ono is messing up things. That is, it's not. We're not even at like Detective 101. We're at like .01.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you, like
It's
you don't
just
have
pure.
to.
It's pure stupidity, in my opinion.
And eventually, and I know a lot of people go off the rule. You don't attribute to incompetence to malice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I mean, this is just like this is
there's
just a step too far.
There's been 2 interviews brought out about this man, okay, and from his own people about the things he does just to get back at people. He holds grudges. If he doesn't like how you react to his decisions or things that he said, or if you make a statement to him that goes against anything, well, he has to come back at you. He holds a grudge. He's going to demote you or put you on a different shift where you can't see your family and just ignorant shit like that. This is the man that is running the county. That's scary to me. And his own people don't like him. They've tried to oust him more than once. The people that live within the county do not like this man. They don't want him there. It's all weird, very weird. So it just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah, I heard morale is down a lot in the
Very, very, yeah.
And a lot of the good people retired and left, the real experienced
Well,
people. So,
and that the investigative crew, the group, I don't know what to call them, but the group of detectives, they're all very young because everybody left. And people that were newer, they left. They don't. Nobody wants to work with this guy. I'll just put it that way. So,
getting our partners out there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And it really is about getting our partners out there.
so do you hear what he's saying? The FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it? Why are you not asking them to come in and see it themselves? That's what he should be doing. He should be asking for their expertise. You're a sheriff. You're not an FBI agent. You're not a CIA agent. You're not Homeland Security. You're not Secret Service. You don't know everything. You know what you know as a sheriff. That's all there is. And there's no shame in that. It's okay. Let it be what it is and ask them to come in and help you. They shouldn't be asking you because they want to help the situation. You should want that. And that's what I don't like about him. That's why I question his capabilities for one, and I question his loyalty to what he does. Okay. And I feel like it's very easy to look at this and say, are you working with these people? Are you part of the plan? You know, are you part of the group of the kidnappers? I mean, what the hell? If you don't want that speculation out there, don't make these dumbass decisions that you're making and putting somebody's life in possible more danger. And I'm telling you, I said this once, twice, 3 times already. I'm not going to start singing, don't worry. But the family themselves should be looking at this going, what are you doing? And where is my mother? Okay. And questioning the fact that if you'd have done things a different way, would she be here with us? Because I feel like Nancy in my stomach, my gut feeling is gone. And I feel like that he's the reason that that could have been avoided and it wasn't. So just saying.
To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And it really is about getting our partners out there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And it really is.
So that's just on loop, guys. But yeah, he gave that's it. One press conference, folks. One in 3 weeks. Does anybody else find that odd at all? Because I do. And I think even then he stated that they would be doing these regularly. There's been one. And then he did interviews. He gave everybody 10 minutes of time, and all these reporters did 2 interviews with him, and they were all just, you could see his arrogance float out through these interviews too. It was disgusting to me. So I don't even know. I don't even know.
I know if I was a part, if I was in that family, I I would be making the media rounds daily.
Yep. Yes.
And they'd probably have to put me on exclusively YouTube, Rumble, because there would be a lot of F-bombs being thrown.
Oh my God, yeah. And this man is definitely a narcissist, Angel. 100%. Yeah, I agree with you too on that one, Dylan, for sure. Let's check out Brian Enton's new update on this. We're going to float through all the updates I can find that I have and catch up on that as we discuss and break these things down and see if we can come up with any kind of a thought on this, because it just doesn't, nothing lines up with this. It's crazy.
Brainless Brian.
Yeah. I'll give him this on this here. Brian Enton's done a great job on this. And I'm really surprised because he's gotten me so unnerved on his coverage on Idaho and some other stuff. But this, again, he's done a great job on it. So I will give credit where credit's due, but I just hope that he continues to do it for the right reasons. And I hope that it is to help find Nancy. I'll just say that.
I have full faith that he'll mess this up as soon as this turns into an official murder.
That part of it, yeah, I can agree with you on that for sure. And that's the other thing. I'll say that again. I said that 3 weeks ago. This should have been being investigated as a murder case right away. Right away. Okay. There was blood. That's all it needed, in my opinion. They should have started covering this like a murder. And instead, they did this whole missing persons bullshit, and this is where we're at with it. And I think that was one of the mistakes too. So.
Down all of the new developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie, we are going to News Nation's senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, who is live on the ground in Tucson, Arizona tonight. Brian, tell us the very latest in this. And also, what are we hearing about any potential DNA tech issues, mixed DNA?
Yeah, a couple of new developments coming in late tonight, Natasha. First of all, you mentioned the mixed DNA. The sheriff, the Pima County sheriff, did an interview with NBC News, and he's now saying that the samples are mixed, which this is something that we haven't heard before. I wrote down what he said. The samples are mixed, and DNA from more than one person is contained in some of these DNA samples that they are trying to test and get results from. Specifically, we know that they're especially interested in the DNA from inside Nancy Guthrie's house, DNA that doesn't belong to Nancy Guthrie and then doesn't belong to anyone within her inner circle. But apparently that DNA, again, they're calling it as mixed, and that it's from more than one person, which is apparently making it a little more complicated. Remember, the sheriff sent the DNA to a Florida lab, a private lab that the sheriff's office here uses. There's a little bit of drama there with the FBI. FBI wanted a lot of the evidence to go to their lab in Quantico. At the end of the day, the sheriff decided to stick with the lab that they're used to, which is the lab in Florida. So hopefully they'll be able to sort that out, because DNA is obviously a huge, huge part of this case. Something else interesting that the sheriff said new tonight is he said they have no names. There's not a name of a suspect that they have behind the scenes. At least that's what he's saying publicly. Remember, we reported last week that the FBI was going around to different gun shops in Tucson with a list of 40 names and 40 photos showing employees of the gun shops, the names in the photos, seeing if they looked familiar, if they'd been in the store, if they'd bought a weapon. But again, tonight, the sheriff is saying that they have no names. Natasha?
Yeah, appreciate that. And meanwhile, what are they saying about cooperation with their counterparts south of the border and the likelihood that she could have been taken to Mexico? Is that something that they're seriously looking at?
It seems like they are, because we know that the FBI was in touch with Mexican officials very, very early on. Our Libby Dean reported that tonight, that they called Mexico almost immediately to ask them questions about the investigation. Mexico, the law enforcement there, is now saying that they have no reason to believe that Nancy Guthrie is in Mexico. You just can't ignore how close it is, though. I mean, it takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half to get to Mexico from Nancy Guthrie's house, where I'm standing right now. It's so easy to cross the border. You don't even have to show an ID or answer any questions. You just go right in, whether you're walking, driving. So it seems like a possibility that investigators have to keep open.
And Brian, very quickly, is there a lot of cartel activity in this area?
There is, and there are kidnappings that have happened in this area involving the cartel, although all the local law enforcement that I've spoken to has said this just doesn't show any signs of being a cartel-related kidnapping. They're usually more organized. They're in and out quickly. Plus, what would the motive be for them to take an 84-year-old woman like Nancy Guthrie? So I don't think it's cartel-related, but whoever did it, you know, it's possible that they could have taken Nancy into Mexico, again, just because it's so close.
Yeah, it was so interesting to see how easy it was for you to clear that checkpoint. As senior national correspondent Brian Entin, live for us on the ground in Tucson, Arizona, yet again tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app.
Interesting.
Wait, they're familiar enough with cartel kidnappings
My audio went out
in that
again.
area?
Oh, sorry, Cap. Yeah.
Yeah, stream you.
It sucks. Wow. What were you saying, Dylan?
They are familiar enough with cartel kidnapping that they can confidently say, this doesn't look like a cartel kidnapping. Like,
yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. That's
how
an
many
interesting point.
That's a well, for one, that's a huge issue.
Uh-huh.
And then second of all, like, obviously it wouldn't be the cartel because they don't want to be in the mainstream media any more than what they are. And kidnapping the host of a national televised show each and every morning, the mother of a host, yeah, that would bring a little bit of media attention. So
yeah. Well, there's another thing Brian put out last night. It's about, is the kidnapper punishing Savannah? He brings on a profiler who breaks down who he suspects or who he thinks took Nancy, which is interesting to me. So is that what this is about? Is it somebody punishing Savannah Guthrie? Is that what this? And I wondered in the beginning, is this a personal thing towards Savannah specifically? Is it about the money? Is it about, because it looks like it could have been about multiple different things, but at this point, it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
if it was about the money, then the kidnapper would not be sending ransom notes.
Sends a miss,
Nancy.
that's for sure.
Yeah, that's my thought too. The whole ransom thing kind of toileted early on, and then then you go to TMZ, which what? It just the whole thing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think with that at this point, Harvey's just writing love notes.
Yeah, no, I mean, a professional would know that you have to show proof of life.
Yes, yes, and there has been not once. Okay, has there been proof of life? But this is interesting with this profiler here, and this whole angle with this. So I figured I'd share that with you guys as well.
Thanks so much for checking out my show. I really, really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. Appreciate all the support. It is now day 21 in the search for Nancy Guthrie. It's Saturday. Outside Nancy Guthrie's house. You can see something new here. You see all these like orange barricades that they put out. That's new. You can see it in the other direction too down there. Basically, the Department of Transportation came out and put these barricades in the road. They made the road one way.
They don't want media there. They don't want YouTubers there. It's a whole thing. That's what those are all about.
Just trying to control. There's so much traffic outside Nancy's house and all the media. They haven't made the media leave, which is nice.
Wasn't it a YouTuber that found
they put the barricades out? So
Gabby Petito
happened this morning. In this episode, though, this might be one of the more.
Say that again, Cap.
Wasn't a YouTuber that found Gabby Petito?
Yeah, they were. I can't think of their names. They were campers. But they were YouTubers, yeah. Absolutely.
So there you go.
100%, sir.
More interesting episodes that I've done recently, in my opinion. I spoke to a former FBI profiler, Jim Fitzgerald, helped find the Unabomber. I mean, a really, really legit guy with an incredible work history. And he actually came up with a profile of who he thinks is responsible for Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
That's gotta be good.
What he thinks that person was acting like before this happened, and what he thinks that person would be acting like now. And it could be very valuable in people who are searching for the person responsible. The other really interesting thing that I've thought a lot about, and I haven't gotten into much until I talked to Jim in this episode, is could this...
Before he says this, I want to put this out here. This is something I've thought of myself. I've even stated it, I think, at least once, that I feel like this here, almost like they want it to fizzle out because they do know that she's not going to be found. And that's kind of my thing. Like, they're trying to play this out in a way that it goes cold and then something will be brought up about it down the road somewhere. I feel like that they're working that angle of this somehow. I don't know why I see that, but I do. So, Karmic, that's a good point to bring up, hon. I really do see it that way too.
This be a obsessed Savannah Guthrie stalker who is responsible for this, and how seriously are investigators taking that potential option? And I mean, could they be going through Savannah Guthrie's emails right now behind the scenes? Are they working with NBC? All of that seems like it's a real possibility. So I'm going to get into all of that in this episode of Brian Ensign Investigates. I'm joined now by Jim Fitzgerald. I really appreciate him coming on. He's a former FBI profiler. He was the founder of the Forensic Linguistic Studies at the FBI, host of the Cold Red podcast, which you can see the logo behind him. I really like your logo, by the way, Jim. And also author of the books A Journey to the Center of the Mind. It's a privilege to have you on the show, Jim, just because the phase that we're at now, I've been thinking a lot about who this person is, who's responsible for the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, but also what they're like right now, like trying to get into the mind of someone who has essentially gotten away with this for now. Like, what are they doing? What are they acting like? I'm curious what your profile is on this person.
Well, again, Brian, thanks for having me on the pod again. I do appreciate it. And just a little bit of background in the profiling unit. I was there. My first case as a profiler was Unabomb, and I got sent out to San Francisco supposedly for 30 days, and I helped rewrite the profile that John Douglas did because the manifesto would come out, and that was a valuable tool that we put out there for people. And in my days in the profiling unit, when the 9/11 happened. The pilots were all killed, of course, but we're still putting behavioral characteristics out there of who were their adjacents, who was helping them. And certainly in order here, the anthrax case, DC sniper case, we put profiles out there, and a bunch of little cases, for individual cities of serial rapists and killers. I'm surprised I don't see this from my former unit right now. I'm surprised it's not out there. So my Cold Red co-host podcast, Ray Carr, and I, and he wasn't going to be here with us today, but he has some family issues he's handling. We put this together over the last few days. And let me go back again. I like to deal with an historical perspective. The Brown University shooting in December, Ray and I came up with a profile because no one else was putting anything out. And we were just about to go on our podcast. That was, I think, Thursday afternoon, late afternoon, and everything broke in the case. The guy was identified up in a security building of some sort, storage building, and it was resolved that night. But it turns out the profile we put together was pretty much right on the money. So yeah, that's what we like to do here. And I have a lot of experts have been out there, and me a little bit. What does the DNA mean in the camera? 41 minutes, this differential. That's all important stuff that the investigators are certainly discussing. But what Ray and I always like to say, a week after a big case like this, we need to get the public involved in this. What for them to look out for. And the video is great. Anybody, you recognize it, the mask, the backpack, the silly sort of gun holster that I was not familiar with, shoes, boots, anything like that. But there's also behavioral characteristics, and that's what Ray and I decided.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. I will get back to this here real quick, but this statement here, Lisa Hawkins, thank you for joining us. Dago, could this be LE? One way to get Nanos to resign, it makes him look bad and everyone dislikes him. I mean, sure, that's a good point, and it could be, okay? That's a lot to go through to do that, but of course it could be. People not speculate, but people do things like that all the time to get their way. You know what I mean? So, hey, Trish, good to see you. But yeah, that's an interesting thought, Lisa. I'll just say that much. For sure. Moonlit Baby, good to see you. But yeah, on we go, guys. But that's a good point, Lisa. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for the statement.
Put out because that's what we did back in the profiling unit for the whole 12 years I was there, from the mid 90s to the 2007 when I retired. So without any further ado, we broke into two categories for this case. Again, the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, and I'm just calling it an abduction. And I know Ray agrees with me and everything we put together here. And it was either for revenge purposes, and there's multiple categories of that. Is it possible it's a for-profit kidnapping? They're the rarest of the rare in this country. Lindbergh baby, a couple in the early 90s, Frank Sinatra Jr. in the early 60s. If this was a successful abduction, whether you look at the guy's jittery behavior at the Nest camera, whatever, he still got away with it. As you said early on, it's been successful. If his attempt or their attempt was to do a for-profit kidnapping, they've done a poor job at that. And I believe at least some, if not all, of the ransom demands coming into TMZ, whomever, they're opportunists. They're coming out of, they're the Nigerian prince people out of Africa, they're Eastern European scammers, or somewhere in the US, who knows? But if this abduction's successful, to summarize the crime itself, kidnapping not successful, because there's no proof of life. Every kidnapper knows you have to send some sort of proof of life, and where a watch may have been sitting in a bedroom somewhere, that's not enough. You still have to show your kidnappee is alive. So when we do these types of behavioral characteristics, it's not really a profile, we say. It's what we break it down as to pre-offense behavior, post-offense behavior. And what I tell people in this case, look at the video, look at the size, the shape, clothing, all the things we discussed already, and then take in these characteristics, which are proven over time, and we've had a very good percentage rate with, going back 25 years, John Douglas and Bob Ressler and people like that before I was in the unit, and these are what these people do. We've interviewed serial offenders in prison, and we know this is how they behave. And we've interviewed them afterwards, even other type during interviews and interrogations when they're first arrested, and they gave us this stuff. So let's start with pre-offense behavior. Now the kidnapping was.
this is another angle that I've looked at too, Karmic. I think we talked about this Devil's Advocate show the early on in the investigation. Could this be a whack political move? The way that they're trying to imply Mexican cartels, and it being a white elderly woman, I don't know, almost gives America a scare. Agreed. And what do they do, guys? Every time there's some kind of a mass shooting or something like that, they automatically start banging out gun laws again and talking about that stuff, so on and so forth. So sure, I could see that, Karmic. Absolutely, I could see that. And yes, Hemi, he is. I agree, but in that aspect, he's doing really good with this. So I'll just say, Karmic, as I tell you all the time, you always have great statements, great thoughts, great comments. So thank you. Let's see.
There's an old saying in the political world: "Don't let a good crisis go to waste."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Even though
that's exactly.
So the thing is, this may not even be anywhere near politically motivated, but the media is going to find some way to make it politically motivated.
Of course they will. They attach. It's like a parasite. Every time they have an option, they jump on it. Every time. Okay. Every time it gives them another way to run their narratives. Period. So yeah, that's a good point. And John says, good and well that people that aren't familiar with true crime research will always believe MSM and LE narratives. Absolutely. And that's part of the problem in society these days that we talk about almost every day. So yeah, absolutely. It could be some form of that, Angel. I agree with that. I won't denounce anything with this case at this point because they don't have any kind of real actual like information at all. So on we go.
The early morning of Sunday morning, February 2nd. So this is going to.
So you hear it, the early morning of Sunday morning, he says, but the other guy says Saturday night. You got to love it.
Be the week before, but again, it could be extended longer, shorter. If you've lived with someone, a neighbor, a son, a colleague, coworker, whatever category, here are some features you're going to see about this person before the crime. Unusually distracted and aloof, inordinately busy, but for unclear reasons, self-absorbed, more internet time than usual. And if you happen to see some of the things he's looked up, they would be unusual factors, maybe about Savannah Guthrie, maybe about kidnappings, etc. Purchases of odd materials, and we've seen the video, we know what some of those are. Perhaps financial issues, real or imagined, but again, I'm not sure this is a for-profit motivation here, so just keep that as a possibility. He would possess some sort of a abduction kit, and I put that in quotation marks in my notes, much like the backpack scene in the video. And again, serial rapists have rape kits, serial killers have kill kits. This would be an abduction kit, and you can imagine some of the common sense things in there, but you wouldn't just see a person carrying a bag with these kind of things in it every day. And they would include, it could be in a box, in a bowling bag. I think BTK, Dennis Rader, had it in some sort of a bowling bag, all these types of items. But obviously tape of different varieties, duct tape, electrical tape, masks, restraints of some sort, rope, wire, tools, that small flashlight, which is sort of distinctive, the bite light, I think they call it.
A Vitalite. Yeah. Welcome, Lucy. Lucy Lou. Good to see you, Lucy. The defense rests. Miss Jody's in the house today. Good to see you, Jody. I hope you're doing wonderful. Grateful to have you here with us. Witchy was. Good to see you as well. All you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you're all having an amazing weekend. And guys, make sure that you subscribe to the defense rests. Miss Jody, our Aussie friend down under that has been covering the Letcher County stuff with us and giving us so much help with that. And I'm grateful to her so very much. So please make sure you subscribe to her channel over there. That way you can get all the info she puts out when she does and you don't miss anything. So grateful to see you, Jody, and all of you that are jumping in here. Lucy, my girl's in the house. Good to see Lucy and everybody else joining us today. For all the you that are not in the chat, just hanging out watching us, we love you too and appreciate you so very much. So on we go. Skilla, what's going on, Skilla?
So you're telling me all those all those items aren't sufficient for family game night?
Which ones?
The rope, duct tape, zip ties.
Probably not, depending on what
Masks.
game you're playing. Probably not. Yeah, I would say they're probably not the best.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
All right. I gotta have a conversation with some people, but
okay, yeah.
On a serious note, though, he's making the huge mistake of assuming that this is one person. There's got to be multiple people involved with this.
There is, yeah. And I think he's just pointing out one because that's the only one we've been shown.
Yeah, but the thing is, when there's multiple people, you're gonna be able to mask that so much easier to where nobody's gonna be noticing a difference unless they are right over your shoulder.
Right. Yeah.
Constantly.
What's up, FB?
Honestly, the best way to kind of notice something, as he put it, pre-crime, would be: is he hanging out with certain people more often than usual?
Mm-hmm.
Not so much like, is he online more often? Well, who knows who's online all the time? Everybody's online all the time.
Sure.
So you're not going to notice that. And I mean, you go to any dude's workbench, they're like, guys fix things with duct tape, zip ties, and WD-40. Like,
got you.
So, again, unless he's like not a handyman, or he knows he's not a handyman,
right?
Then yeah, that would be suspicious. But most guys, oh yeah, I'm a handyman, I can fix anything. So it's like it's like this fortune teller vibe where they are so vague that anything can fit into it.
Right. No, I got you.
So it's just kind of like, come on, brainless Brian.
Well, Brian, I'm not even going to mention that, but I'm curious. There's more to come from this, believe that or not. I can't shut my mouth long enough. So, thanks to letting me know that, Face or FB. Good. I hope they're using it and they can see it for what it is. The other video with that Molly put together, because it really blew my mind. So I hope other people see it for what it is as well. But on we go, guys. On we go.
And other items related to that. And lastly, again, pre-offense behavior. If you know maybe a little bit better than maybe others would, he's obsessed with one or more female celebrities and or high-profile women. So, of course, one of them would be Savannah Guthrie, but sometimes if there's any kind of a stalking element to this, he could have other women out there that he was fascinated or obsessed upon. But for some reason, because maybe Savannah Guthrie herself wasn't available, her mother was, and he has a familiarity with the Tucson, Arizona area. So, Brian, I can hold off there on pre-offense behavior. I'm going to go into post-offense next, but do you have any questions about what I just said?
So when you said upset, so do you think it's someone who was motivated maybe by an obsession with Savannah?
I'm certainly not ruling that out. When I was in New York as an FBI agent, I had a close connection with the head of security of NBC. About 4 times a year, he'd contact me. Hey, another one of our female journalists or, celebrities, whatever, TV people is being harassed by this guy. Can you check it out? And it was outside of New York. He would have handled it with the NYPD. He was retired NYPD. But since there are other parts of the country, I would interview them if they're somewhere in the New York area, but I'd also send leads out. So a lot of female people on TV, a lot of females on TV. And it's different with actors, Brian. Actors look at their fellow actors when they're doing their scenes or their portrayals on TV. The difference with people like Savannah Guthrie and others is they look into the camera. And you get these people that maybe suffer from a condition known as erotomania. And it's in the diagnostic statistical manual that psychologists use for all the different categories. It's basically like a stalker's disease. And it can be men or women. And they're hung up on usually people in power, celebrities, and they think there's a mutual love back and forth. And that's why I'm hoping early on the investigators went into every email Savannah has ever received, probably going back 5 years, from some fan who just repeats himself, but somehow it just was never fulfilled. Maybe she sent the 8x10 glossy or whatever the equivalent is today, but that just wasn't enough for him. So I am not locking into this theory, and like
I did say that was one of my theories in the very beginning. Was this somebody that Savannah upset somehow with something she said, maybe in a political view, or that she was talking about possibly? From my understanding, she kind of stayed down the middle, but I could be wrong. Was this somebody that had a thing for her, that was sending her letters? Or that's never come out, but why would it? I don't think they're going to add that to this. But was it something that never did come out, that somebody that just was obsessed with her and said, I'll get to her one way or another, and did this possibly? You know what I mean? I don't think that's it. I never was solid on that, but it was definitely something I thought about. For sure. So I don't know, gentlemen, any thoughts on either one of any of that so far?
No, it definitely targeted.
Say again, Cap. You broke up for a second.
No, it just definitely it's targeted.
Oh, it's a definitely, most definitely targeted, specific. Yes, I agree with that. It's
And
very weird.
And the one thing too, a lot of these, if you look back at a lot of these hostages that been solved, every other one of them is a stun used in it.
Yeah.
So you could stun somebody, and then whatever they do, and make them more pliable, cooperative.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So.
And that statement there, your instincts are correct. There would be signs contact prior to the kidnapping of the person that has, and I would imagine there would have been, stalker notes sent to Savannah, stalker traits shown from somebody, if that was the guess. And if there was, it would have been brought out. I think there hasn't been. There's never been any talk of that. So, I touched on that. I let it be there, and then I moved forward because it's just, I wanted it on record in my mind as something that's a possibility. Is it something I feel strongly about? Not even close. I think this is closer to being more about money than any of that, but I'm still questioning the money aspect still, because it's all failed. So, and if it was money, it was horrible the way they put it together. It was just horrible. So I don't even think it's money at this point. And in that aspect, that's what I struggle with figuring out, is what the hell does this, what does this mean? What is this about? Because it doesn't make sense. So
the problem with the stalker thing that I have is, just by going off the Ring camera footage, the person doesn't seem old enough to kind of get that connection with Savannah Guthrie.
Sure.
So, because usually with stalkers, they're either around the same age range or a little bit older.
Agreed.
And so,
but keep this in mind, Dylan. That one person we saw, I believe there's at least 2 or 3 more. I'll just put it that way.
True. But the motive would drastically change the age in the profile. Because if it's about money, then all ages are on the table.
Absolutely.
You would lean more towards the younger side. But if this is a stalker case, a stalker where he finally got bold enough, then we'd be looking more around Savannah's age, if not older. But the problem with that is, you're not very often going to see somebody that's 50 plus pulling this kind of thing off.
Not hands-on. In the background, maybe, but not hands-on. You are correct.
So now you're looking at maybe a father-son connection. Or something along those lines.
Or brothers, or older, younger brother, or something. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I'm on the same page you're on with that, bud, for sure.
If it was 2 or 3 people, perpetrators, was always the leader. So
Absolutely. And that's why, if we're to believe any of the emails that went to TMZ or to Harvey, where they make reference to seeing people, multiple, in Mexico with Nancy, and talking about the main person as far as kidnappers go, which leaves multiples again. There's a leader of sorts that runs this, and people that fall off to the side of him that are doing his little minion work for him, or her, whoever, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Mikey makes a great point too, in my opinion, at this point, or yeah, he makes a great point at this point in the case, in my opinion. The only money at this point would be coming from a life insurance policy or assets, with all the circles back to the family. It does, because I feel, honestly, after 21 days, I don't believe Nancy's alive. I just don't. And I haven't believed that probably since the end of the first week. I just, that gut feeling, guys, when you see things or feel things, and you just kind of feel like, yeah, I don't think so anymore. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with it, unfortunately. So,
Well, it makes it's common sense because she had the heart thing, the
yeah,
pacemaker,
yeah,
and that's a lot of stress on a healthy guy. That's a lot of stress. You guys break into your house, and you know what I mean. So that's a lot of stress on somebody, and I could have done it. Just the stress alone. So
And
amen. I mean, that's what my thought was, Cap, was that because of the situation being the way it was, that something bad happened because she's scared, freaked out, and maybe had a heart attack or something, and they couldn't control that. And I
yeah,
still feel like that may have been the message that Savannah and her sister and brother put out there, when she said, "We got your message, we understand, but we would like to have her mother back so we could celebrate with her." It kind of sounded like, we understand she passed away. We'd like to have her back so we can have a celebration of life with her, or death. You know what I mean by that? And that
mm,
would be very important to us, with the other words she used. But yeah, so that's a good point, in my opinion. And that's how I've kind of been thinking about that for a little while. So
it makes sense. I mean, that's the vibe I'm getting from the family now. It's more or
right.
less like we just want her back.
That's it. They just want her back so that they can finish, get some closure, put her to rest, that kind of stuff. I see it and feel that way too.
About the they're talking about this thing where somebody did a search for Nancy's address in
They
Boulder,
did.
Colorado. I think they said
Oh,
Boulder, Colorado. I'm not sure, not exactly sure, but that's what they said.
yeah.
That's what the rumor is, and that's strange to me that one person in the country makes a search for her address. You
Hmm.
know, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, is this getting to the point where rights and stuff are going to be taken away? And you know,
Maybe. Maybe. I mean,
when does it infringe?
there was right. Yeah. No, that's a great question and a great point, Cap. Honestly, and when you're talking about the Google search stuff, we talked about this the other day too. Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this, but whoever was doing this, the Google searches were looked up. Nancy's property was looked up. They were trying to find like inside floor plans and stuff like that. But whoever was doing this supposedly was also looking up other media stars too, people that are famous within the media. Um, I always forget their damn names too. I don't know why I even brought this up, because I can't remember the damn names. But and it's almost as if they looked up like three or four of these people to see who the best target would be, and they chose Nancy Guthrie via Savannah. They were looking up Savannah's salary.
Yep,
And
yep.
Anderson Cooper, the guy from Fox, was another one. I kind of
seeing
Hannity,
it,
that guy. Yeah,
oh, Sean Hannity. Okay.
Sean Hannity from Fox, Cooper from CNN, and they chose Savannah Guthrie and her mother. So, and I guess 84 years old, not very mobile, in a secluded somewhat area, so on and so forth, was the choice that they made. So that's wild to me. It's kind of scary to me. But with what you just said, is that going to happen? Because these are other people learning. If they learned that they were looked into too, possibly people are going to get scared, and where does it go from that point? You know what I mean? It's a good point, Cap.
So this would actually drastically change the profile because this isn't about Savannah or Nancy. This is about mainstream media.
That's what I said. These are all media personalities that they looked up. So
it would appear that looking into Savannah or Nancy would inevitably lead to a dead end because with those searches it would be an attack on mainstream media, not so much anything to do with Savannah other than the fact that she's on TV every day.
Yeah, could be.
So
and then we know that there's a lot of people that are pissed off at mainstream media. Now, Sabina Guthrie doesn't really project the news per se, okay? So in that aspect, it's not really a good choice for me to pick her for this situation, but if that's the reason, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, given that evidence, that would be the first road you'd go down, just because it's the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I can agree.
Now you are looking at more of you're almost looking at like a anti-government style individual. Some would say redneck hillbilly, type person, always questioning the government, which everybody already does that anyway. Probably got a large supply of tinfoil hats. Probably not Birdie, but
right. definite good point.
So
definitely not Birdie.
And you're probably looking at somebody that has a lot of life experience, may not have the quote unquote credentials, but you're looking at somebody around the ages of 35 to 45, maybe in that ballpark.
It would make sense. Yeah. Good point. Very good point.
I got to tell you is whoever did this, one thing for sure is a real coward. Take an 84-year-old woman, total.
Yeah, agreed.
And
it's definitely pathetic. I'll say that much.
Yeah, and that could be another thing. This person, they're not gonna be like overly confident bravado. This person is gonna take the safer route. They're gonna be parking closer to. They're gonna be parking in lights, in parking lots, like underneath lights. They're gonna be incredibly paranoid. Like they're gonna that's their default setting is paranoia.
Believe that. That's a good point. You know.
Good point.
Yeah, that's an excellent point because I do think that could take an 84-year-old woman is going to be paranoid. You know.
Yeah.
They're a coward. They're a coward. They've been probably.
You have to be. Yeah.
And for them to be paranoid and anxiety, all that stuff, yeah, they're probably feeling the brunt of it right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the scariest part about this is if they do close in on him, and if they do close in on him, and he feels it, he will not hesitate to, if Nancy is still alive, have a murder unaliving right there.
Oh, I could imagine. I would imagine somebody like this would probably take their own life as well, to not have to face consequences. Because, like Cap said, he's a coward. That's just, again, my opinion. So, when was she found to be missing? It was reported the next day, the Sunday morning, Carmack, at I think around noon, because she had a church group.
1st, right?
Yeah, it was February 1st. Yes. She had a church group that she went to every Sunday. They would go to different houses as friends, and they would go sit and watch Savannah's church service online from New York. And she never showed up. So then that friend contacted Annie and said, "Hey, your mom never showed up for church with us today. You know, if everything's okay." I tried calling, there was no answer, blah, blah, blah. And so Annie and her husband went over there, from my understanding, spent like an hour or so looking around, trying to figure out what happened. Found nothing, contacted Savannah, said, "Hey, have you heard from mom?" "No, why?" "Well, she's missing. She never showed up for this, that." Probably told her a couple other things. Savannah, in turn, contacted Senator Mark Kelly, and I don't know in what order it happened, but and law enforcement was contacted from there, and boom. So, and that, like I said, I felt like I remember it being right around noon, karmic. So there you go.
Mark Kelly was the astronaut.
Yeah, yeah. So once again, the parallels with this case in Idaho are crazy to me, because the time span that she supposedly went missing within was between 2 and 4 a.m. It wasn't realized or recognized till right around noon. There's a Range Rover involved, blah, blah, blah. There's so many different parallels in this case. It's insane to me. It's so weird, just weird. And I know some of these things are coincidental, but I'm just saying it's weird. It is very extreme, I thought, Lucy, to call him, but if you're a celebrity and you know people take advantage of that, I feel. So there it is. Absolutely, karmic, absolutely, dear. Then when did the coin thing come into demand? Coin thing. What do you mean by the coin thing, hon?
The Bitcoin.
Oh, the Bitcoin. I think that was Tuesday. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. It may have been, or no, Sunday, Monday. It was Monday when they got the first information for that. Yeah. So why no mention of going down church services attended by? No idea. Redacted. No idea.
Say about these type of characteristics, I'll remind your audience, not every single one will be 100% right on the money. No profile is 100% perfect. But if the majority of these characteristics are met, and again, looking at the video, some kind of a Tucson connection over the years, current, in the past, consider calling the tip line. So yeah, the whole thing with Savannah just can't be ruled out. She is and like I said in the first interview I did, I think, the day after the kidnapping, victimology is what's very important about any type of violent crime committed against a person. And that's a behavioral term for, it's one thing knowing everything about the killer, the kidnapper, the rapist, whatever, but we want to know about the victim. High risk victim, low risk victim, all those things. And as it turns out, it's not just, in this case, Nancy Guthrie herself. It would be her extended family. And I'm not talking about them being involved in this crime. Others are looking into that. It may or may not be. The sheriff has since ruled them out. We'll leave that where it is. But certainly the connections to those people. And Savannah being the celebrity, the high profile person, certainly worth a lot of money. If there is a financial aspect to this, she has to be considered in terms of who are the people that have been reaching out to her over multiple years. And I'm sure every one of those persons, their criminal records, and maybe even some of them have been interviewed, or at least try to locate them, has been done by the investigators now working the case.
Yeah, just before we move on, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, them going through all of her emails. That would make sense, because she probably has a lot from fans and maybe even creepy people. But I thought of something else when you were just saying that, in her last video that she did, she seemed like she was almost trying to give the kidnapper sympathy, almost she was trying, almost like, we, feel for you, you can still turn this around, almost like
That's a good point, Lucy. I like that you said that too.
She was talking to someone who was obsessed with her, trying.
So it was brought out that last statement that Savannah made, and I don't know where we got the information from, but it was put out there that statement was directed at a specific female person. Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know who it means. I don't know why it was said. I don't know exactly where it came from, but I remember that happened when she made that statement. It was directed specifically to a specific female. So I don't know. So I'll just leave that there too.
to appeal to that person. That was kind of the sense I got when I first watched it, which seems to sort of go back to your theory here. And maybe the FBI told her to do that.
Yeah, and there's no doubt the FBI, the behavioralists are involved in not putting words in her mouth or on paper for her, but certainly guiding them and advising what to say and maybe what to stay away from. So yeah, there was definitely a shift in her tone and even her agency, so to speak, but to whom she was speaking over the course of the several videos she put out there. And I think you're right there. And of course, as I pointed out, and I guess others did too, but it's certainly the first video, they wanted to humanize her. That's very important in these types of abduction situations. You know, call her by her name, you know, mom, mommy. I think only Nancy only once, mom, mommy, you know, versions of that. So that was very important they did. So they're trying to appeal to different levels and layers of whoever may be holding her, that, you know, she is a real person, a human. She's kind, she's nice. I'm still baffled, and I find it very interesting. I wish I was the one that come up with this, but the fact that Savannah quoted lines from the movie Silence of the Lambs, I found that very, very interesting. I'm not going to put a whole lot of interpretation in that. Maybe subconscious, maybe not. You'd think someone would have picked up on that. I know in the Ramsey, John Benet Ramsey murder, it never was a kidnapping, but for the first 6 hours or so with the letter that was received, it was treated as such. In that letter, there were direct references to the movie Dirty Harry and the movie Speed, and I'm one of the first persons to pick up on that.
Somebody asked how she was getting, hey Karen, good to see you, to and from. I think she was Ubering back and forth, or whoever person was picking her up and or dropping her off. That's my understanding.
And that was, you know, early in the internet days, and even the movie Usual Suspects was kind of intimated throughout. So it's not unusual for killers, or we'll say alleged kidnappers, to borrow from the media, sort of life imitating art. But it's unusual when in this case, family members are borrowing from art, so to speak. Not bad or not good. I'm not even saying that, but they chose those words. I would think not coincidentally in the long run.
Yeah, I just felt like maybe she was trying to appeal to someone who may be obsessed with her. You know, which goes back to your theory of, you know, it could be like a crazy fan.
Yeah, and look, a lot of your listeners may be young and they may barely remember President Reagan, or even the assassination attempt on him in 1981. And that was by a guy named John Hinckley, who was obsessed with the young actress Jodie Foster. And this is before actors and actresses would be putting their political, you know, stuff out there. And I don't think anyone even knew her politics back then, and maybe even now, I don't know. But stalkers, people suffering from erotomania, will do really strange things. Sometimes they do hurt their actual victims. The actress, I forget her name, but she was in the show, in a mid-'80s show, and she was murdered by her stalker. So the bottom line is these things do happen. And I'm, you know, as a part of me hoping that maybe this is an obsessed fan and he never could get to Savannah and he thinks he has some sort of a connection to her. So he just wants to keep her mother in a room somewhere and have these ongoing discussions with her about Savannah when she was young. And is there any chance she would like me? I know this is way out there in terms of a theory, but I look at the Elizabeth Smart kidnapping in Utah back in the early 2000s. Again, that was sex oriented, not related to this type of an abduction, but that person just wanted to keep that young woman in his possession, more or less, and keep her alive to fulfill you know, the ongoing fantasy he had about her. And he was doing very bad things to her. I'm not suggesting if that's the case here, it's happening to Mrs. Guthrie, but there are people out there whose brain synapses don't connect like ours do, and your audience, and then something like this, if they can't get Savannah, maybe this is the closest they can get. So I'm hoping for this sort of possibility, which would mean then maybe Mrs. Guthrie is still alive, but we just don't know, of course.
So let's move on now. So we were talking about what this person may have been acting like before the, I guess, abduction, we'll call it. Tell me now, what should people be looking for in the after?
Sure. And actually, Ray and I, my, again, Cold Red co-host Ray Carr and I broke this post-offense behavior into two parts. And one of it's pre-video release. So again, after the abduction, but like that first week before the video came out, and then after the video. So this is the post-offense behavior after the abduction, but before the video came out. And it's basically just a few bullet points here, but altered behavioral activity, especially the weekend of January 30th through February 1st. After that, this person's schedule is modified. He's more often in one place or less often in one place. Missing work, missing family functions, odd late night hours, out of town or claims to be for unclear reasons, and perhaps driving.
See, this whole is all based off of the theory of one person, which it's not possible to me. Okay. This is a group of people that were all involved. And I still feel very comfortable stating that I believe that 2 or more people took her over the border, left her with somebody in Mexico, and came back to, give the perspective that they're still living their lives and nothing to see here, folks. Don't pay attention to me. She's not here with me, blah, blah, blah. So this is, again, my feeling on how this went down. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but again, he's focusing on one person here for the profile, and I just don't think that lines up to me. So just understand that's my feeling. Not saying everybody in here has to feel the same way. I just want you guys to understand he's not talking as a group. He's talking as one person.
A rental car, but for no apparent reason. Obviously, observable mental strain, sleep disruption, potential for increased substance use, alcohol or drugs, over-explaining whereabouts or created unsolicited alibis, hypervigilance toward police presence, cleaning vehicle interior or interiors repeatedly, disposing of bags, gloves, or clothing, deep cleaning of residence garage, burning or discarding digital devices, storage, media. So again, all the serial offenders we've talked to over the years, at least some of these categories.
This is another good statement Lucy puts out. Someone should take Savannah's media appearances about her missing mother, and for each stated word, find the gematria. If I had to put money on it, these cases pushed in the media will pattern. It's an interesting point, Lucy. Very interesting points. Thank you for that as well.
Or what?
Welcome, CEO.
They engage,
you, brother.
After they commit a crime, especially one that goes high profile and is and there's a lot of media coverage. But let me just swing right into the post-offense behavior after the video was released. So take into account everything I've already mentioned, but now I don't think he suspected this, whether he had inside information somehow, some way that the Nest camera did not have a subscription. This may have thrown off, his thought process a bit. So now the video comes out, pretty clear of what he's wearing anyway, and he becomes even more frenetic, nervous, unstable, highly irritable, moving around physically, and even much more so than the past week. Possibly changes appearance, cuts hair, mustache, grows facial hair, and following the media even more obsessively. Frequent searches online of case updates or suspect descriptions, no doubt following the media, no doubt, Brian, listening to you both on television and digitally and on your pod as we talking right here, monitoring all different Facebook and social media groups, possibly calling tip lines with false.
We're getting there, CEO. We're getting there.
False or misleading information and posting speculative theories online, and possibly discussing the case excessively to gauge reactions of other people. So again, some of these may be right on the money. Some of it, once or twice he did this. 1 or 2 may not be applicable at all. But as I'm telling you, with everything I just sort of mentioned here, if you know someone out there in any category of your life that fits at least, 3/4, the majority of these types of indicators, call the FBI tip line. If nothing else, you're going to get, and it's right, you're going to get $200,000. And if it's wrong, that's okay. The FBI is used to getting well-intentioned tips along the way. When I got the Unabomb in the summer of '95, they had 2,500 suspects. And within 6 months or so, 7 months, they're now the one named Ted Kaczynski. But we had to rule out a lot of those other 2,500 that people were calling in. So So call it in if these characteristics even resemble a little bit someone you may know. Now I'll end this part, Brian, and we can go into some more Q&A. But people talk about the lone wolf offender, and I really think in terms of violent criminals out there, Ted Kaczynski / the Unabomber was really the last lone wolf criminal, because nowadays everybody is online, some much more than others. So even if you're a loner kind of living on your own and you're isolated from people, you're not that lone wolf, because you're engaging and interacting with others online, maybe even the dark web, and getting reinforced or learning, or somehow just being supported by these types of sites and information. So yeah, even if someone was kind of a loner, but now they're really a loner, you haven't seen them for like 3 whole weeks, that's a clue. And everything else I said matches up. That's something you may want to then call the tip line and let the FBI know.
So a lot of people have been describing this guy as an amateur just based on the holster and sort of the way he operated and tried to cover the camera with the shrubbery at first. But I mean, he's gotten away with it for this long, despite all of the resources and all of, the federal government and the sheriff's office looking for him. Do you think, could there be a cockiness about him? What do you think is going through his mind in that regard? Do they get more like, oh, they're never going to find me sort of vibe? Or is it more like trying to hide more?
You haven't heard. Listen, let me tell you right now. Okay, a new study shows.
Well, again, I'm a history buff and I'm a student of history, certainly criminal justice history. Let me take everyone back to 1996, the Olympic bombings, and I had nothing to do with the Richard Jewell part of it. I was a brand new profiler, still working Unabomb. But within the next year and a half, finally a guy named Eric Rudolph was identified. There was a few more bombings, including in Birmingham, the abortion clinic, in which an off-duty police officer was killed, a nurse severely injured. We knew within an hour or so Eric Rudolph was our suspect. So we had a name. We knew he was from Western North Carolina. I visited that area 3 separate times for a week each time, trying to put the profile together, talk to locals who may have known him, help the investigators. It took 5 years to catch that guy. So
there's a couple little details that are new. We're going to get to CEO. I'm just trying to get through this profiler first, because I thought it was interesting to hear his thoughts on this and how they may relate or not. But if you got some time to stick around, we got a couple other things we're going to throw out here in a few minutes.
So did Eric Rudolph, did he get a little bit cocky after a while? Maybe. The Unabomber was pretty successful for about 10 different bombings. And then the composite went out in 1987, the famous one with the aviator sunglasses, the hoodie. You can argue didn't even look that much like him, but he then went dark for 6 years. And that was really the first and only clue law enforcement had before I was even involved in the case of who is this Unabomber person. Well, someone saw him outside the computer store, and that's the composite sketch they gave to a police artist. So you can argue this person's overall demeanor and persona and personality would determine whether he's the cocky type right now or whether he's the nervous Nelly type, just to use 2 kind of unofficial terms here. I just can't profess that. I can tell you this, he's being very careful. And if not doing everything I just mentioned post-offense, he's doing a lot of them to cover his tracks. No criminal wants to get caught. Sometimes, the guy really wanted to get arrested. Unabomber wrote these letters to New York Times, whatever, because he wanted to get arrested. No one wants to go to prison for the rest of their life. So this guy doesn't want to get caught, and he's being very careful, and he's retracing some steps to perhaps cover his tracks, whether like the Idaho killer of the 4 students actually driving down the street again, checking things out. Who knows about that? That'd be pretty high risk on a street, relatively small, or I should say, not that well traveled from what I've seen. But he's obsessively following the media, and he's just making some strange, furtive actions that he wouldn't have been doing up to 3 weeks ago. And that's what we're asking people to look for and recognize. A male, probably 30-ish or above. And we're not ruling out a second person, by the way. But when we give a profile like this, we focus on the main, we'll call them alpha male, but certainly the primary person behind it.
There's your
Could be
answer
a
to
secondary person involved, and who knows, even a third. but the odds are that the profile or the behavioral characteristics I just put out will mostly align with the person who is in charge of this, whose idea this was, and is basically running the show at this point in time.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the street, because I've kind of wondered that, like, it's creepy, but like, is it possible that, when we've been out there, he's like driven by or something like that? A lot of people are hung up now, when we're recording this, it's day 21. And you mentioned how long other cases have taken to be solved. There was one new report out today from ABC saying that they may scale back resources the longer this goes.
That's something I was wondering too. I was going to discuss with you guys if any of you thought, we've seen this in other cases we've covered, that all the resources that they have out in the field doing what they're doing at some point slows to a stop, and then they scale it back and it becomes a cold situation. I feel like that's going to happen relatively soon here if nothing comes from this. So be prepared for that. Welcome, Russell White. Good to see you.
Unsolved. Are you concerned at all? Like, could this just, doesn't seem like a cold case now, but do you have concerns about that?
No, if there's any scaling back, we're talking months down the line. And let's hope there's no other incident anywhere in the country that would then draw people off of this case that, of some sort of large, and serious consequence. So there's not going to be a scaling down anytime soon. I would even say for the next month or two, they may be bringing, certainly the FBI may be bringing more people and maybe relieving others. That's how the Unabomb task force worked. There really was no task force until 1994 when the Unabomber came back with a vengeance and killed 2 people, one in 94, one in 95. And the task force has been put together after he came back. And we were rotating people in and out all the time. I was supposed to only be there 30 days as a brand new profiler, but they kind of liked what I was adding to it, and they kept me on board for the whole time. So yeah, and there's going to be some people that stay there long term, other people in and out. I don't think there's any scaling down of this. This is too important, too high profile to the sheriff's department, as well as other local and federal agencies. So no, they want to get this accomplished. They want to get this. They need to get something. I'm hoping it's not just finding Mrs. Guthrie somewhere and we'll just leave it at that. No more graphic, but that would be, of course, give us some extra clues. But I still remain optimistic here and think this is not just a body recovery, but this is also a rescue of Mrs. Guthrie. That for whatever reason, this person's keeping her alive and engaging with her, at least somehow, for whatever psychologically oriented reasons he is doing so. But it's going to be months before people start getting pulled away. And even then, if another lead comes up, which they'll bring people back in 24 hours notice, and they'll pick up where they left off.
Do you think there's a chance that this is someone really close to Mrs. Guthrie? I don't know. I know they've ruled out the family. I mean, we did, like you said, we just kind of have to accept the sheriff at his word, even though apparently it's unusual for them to do that during such an active investigation when there's no suspect. But could it be someone close that they're just overlooking, like someone else close? Because isn't that normally the case, like statistically?
Yeah, and along with being a profiler, I'm a forensic linguist, and I have a master's in linguistics. So when you even said really close, well, let's define really. Let's define close. So all logical definitions we would need here. Yes, it is very likely. And you've talked about it before, and others that have been on the air, the concentric circles that go around. 80 to 85% of homicides are committed by someone known to the victim. That statistic's been around for hundreds of years, going back to Cain and Abel, if you want to go the Bible route. His brother killed him. So yeah, so they have to look at everyone there. They have to rule them out. I'm not a big fan of publicly ruling people out. I think the sheriff, I would have been more comfortable saying we're no longer focusing on the Guthrie family, but everyone is still considered a potential suspect as the investigation continues. The sheriff came along and I guess completely ruled them out. And that's fine. They're on the inside. I'm on the outside. They know a lot more than I do. So, but to get to the gist of your question, Brian, yes, this could be someone a little close, really close, adjacently close to Mrs. Guthrie, or certainly the family. Yes. And I mean, there are all kinds of, what really all of us could be conceivably victims of a loved one being abducted. Not all of us are multimillionaires like Savannah Guthrie. And even if the abductor never really wanted the money, or that was just like a way down the list, oh, if I get, a couple $100,000 for this, that would be great. It was, there may have been some level of jealousy there that, I don't believe, Savannah was no different than me growing up. And, why did she get, so lucky and make all this money? I'm just trying to think of cases I've known in the past when some people, were I was a police officer in Bensalem Township, suburban Philadelphia, started in '76, young guy right out of college. And right before I got on there was the famous Apt family mass murder, ABT. And I didn't work that case. It was like 6 months before I was hired. And here are 6 family members, well, actually 5 family members, one of the girls' boyfriends, teenage girl, and the dog, all killed in the house by gunshot. And there was big headlines in the Philly area before I was even on that department. Who the heck would do something like this? And it turns out the investigation within a few days to a week pointed to a neighbor down the next block. And here, 2 of the brothers, and they weren't even the ones killed. They were out that day. They used to tease this kid when he was a youngster and, bully him stuff, right or wrong, we can discuss that. And this guy, after all these years, said, I'm taking them out, killed the family. Now, of course, I'm not saying Savannah was a bully to someone, but there could have been something in their personality that just said, from 20 years ago, look at the Brown murder. And like I said, our profile, our behavioral characteristics that Ray Carr and I put together were pretty close. And we said, this guy has a grievance with Brown and maybe others going back months or a few years. I wish I said a quarter of a century, but that's how long people have these grievances they hold. They foment for years. And then in the Brown shooter case, a quarter of a century, even longer, with the MIT professor he ultimately killed, going back to Portugal. I think that would have been like 30 years. So victimology, it comes back to that word, and which is really the direct answer to your question. Everyone around that person has to have, around Nancy Guthrie, has to have their own concentric circle. And then everyone and those people's families' lives and other lives, have to be checked out and interviewed. Criminal records, psychological issues. Well, he's always been obsessed on Savannah. He never misses one of her shows. And that person would have to be focused on. And where were they the night of February 2nd? Phone activity, and take it from there.
Yeah, I never thought as much about this until you started explaining it, how much work they must be doing behind the scenes in terms of digging into Savannah's history. I mean, you mentioned even like people from decades ago who might have a grudge against her. I mean, are they just talking to Savannah? Hey, is there someone from when you were in college that hated you? I mean, do they go that deep?
And see, it's much easier with quote unquote normal people that aren't in the media. It just keep it to, her different stages of life, that victim's family member will say, but you don't have millions of people watching you on TV. So they have to do exactly what we just sort of agreed upon. All her friends and family, sororities. I mean, who knows what they're going to look into? Certainly down the line. That's probably the stage they are now, and that's why it's not going to be scaled back. At least I would think anytime soon. And I know they're doing their best on the ground there. And the only ones more frustrated than the family are the investigators. And we can talk about public and media people. I have a couple toes in the door of the media here, and it is frustrating for me too. But no one more than the family, than of course the investigators, and probably some heads butting in there every once in a while. But the bottom line is they're going to check out every single lead they can and get over any personality issues therein, and get this thing done. So that's why you see sometimes late night searches. Why would they be out there at 2 a.m. looking for stuff? And well, maybe because a new shift came in at midnight, working around the clock, and they decided to maybe they have better luck with reflecting type materials that time of night. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it'll be going on. And every single person, as time goes on, that was in contact with the Guthrie family, and not just Savannah. She's obviously the one we all know from her NBC career. But let's look at, people that may know the sister and the brother, and gosh, who even knew that the father died, I think, decades ago.
Yeah.
Did he have any enemies? And And did somehow someone keep a grudge this long? And maybe it's the son of the person with the grudge. And these are all the things they have to look at. Just look for that person then who has the activity I just described, pre-offense, post-offense. And that's going to help put everything together too, along with whatever the alleged grievance was. And I used alleged, you say grievance here. You and me, it may not, bother us if someone, said something or looked a certain way, but other people can hold on to this for years and years and years, especially if they see someone get successful in one way or the other. And then it finally, for whatever reason, it just breaks, and they do something like this. So this has to be looked at. I mean, and I'll just, as we're kind of winding down here, could it be some kind of a rando, as the Youngs would say, and just not just cruising down the street that night? Obviously, some pre-planning and pre-preparation, mission oriented, but that would be an outlier. It would violate basically every sort of prior abduction of which we are aware in this country. But you got to look at that stuff too, and that's hopefully where phone records, DNA, things like that will come about.
When we talk about someone obsessed with Savannah and maybe a stalker, do you think they're focusing on someone from Arizona? Because there has kind of been this sense on the ground, and the sheriff has he hasn't said it outright, but there's been this feeling that the person could be from around here.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys, Nina just built an...
Yeah, and let me just correct the stalking victim from the mid-'80s. The young actress was Rebecca Schaefer on a show called My Sister Sam. I think Pam Dauber was her co-star, and just a bizarre stalker following her, and came to her door with flowers one day and then just wound up, killing her when she basically shut the door on him. So to go back now to this case, look, in the late 90s, I became friends with the TV lawyer pundit Ann Coulter, because she was a victim of a stalker, and was a really strange guy who just wouldn't leave her alone. He knew enough not to quite break the law, but the FBI interviewed him.
This happens a lot more than people think it does. For those of you that are probably my age or close to, from the original Poltergeist movies, the first one, the girl that played the older sister to Carol Ann, she was stalked and killed by her stalker. And there's quite a few other ones too that this has happened to. Like I said, the girl from My Sister Sam. And there's a few other cases that I can't think of right now off the top of my head, but I did remember that one from Poltergeist. That was a bad situation too. I can't think of her name right now, but it happened to her. And there's another one that was in that aspect as well. Yeah, it was her boyfriend ex-boyfriend. He stalked her, and then he ended up killing her right there. It's pretty bad. So it does happen a lot, guys. It really does.
He didn't stop. We came up with these different plans and ploys to help her. So I actually I didn't interview him because he was very standoffish when agents knocked on his door and his wife was there. I don't know what you're talking about. I have First Amendment.
Bingo, Buffalo. Thank you, Dominic Dunn. That's right.
Rights, etc. So I planned to meet him in Washington, D.C. on a day off. I said, hey, I'm friends with Ann, and I just want to talk. You're kind of her stalker. I'm not a stalker. And it was just interesting having one-on-one relationship with this guy. There's a chapter in my fourth book about this case. I don't name him, but it just, I know what some of these, especially women celebrities, go through. And I've been on with Megyn Kelly a good bit the last 2 weeks. She's had her own problems. Guy in jail right now who's stalking her, and it's not easy, especially when you have kids, etc. So, so Brian, to answer your question, it's any and all of these categories. And again, I'm not.
Yeah, Dorothy Stratton. That one is another one. I just watched that documentary the other day.
Not locked into this theory. I want to be careful here. Again, I'm on the outside, like the rest of us are. You're more on the inside than I am, no doubt, right there on the ground. But I'm just basing everything I say on my experience in these types of cases in the past. And I've certainly kept up with them since I retired a number of years ago. So, yeah, they have to look at these people, and it's the rarest of the rare that a stalker would just do something like this with no leakage beforehand, or no, we'll call it pre-offense behavior, but certainly even long-term behavior in which an email, can you send me a picture? Can you Can you mention my name on the, pull your ear and you're thinking of me at the top of the hour. I've seen cases like this, like with local weather women over the years, things like that. And these guys just become obsessed because they're looking right into the camera. Oh, she's talking to me today. And they would, in the old days, videotape them. I'm sure, DVR, whatever they do now, rewatch it over and over. And oh, she's talking to me. Oh, I know when she said that word, she was talking about me. And oh, she wore blue today when that dress is blue. And these are all signals. And they also have, and I'll tell you what else this person has. If it's this type of a stalking, obsessive type person, clearly suffering from erotomania, they have a shrine. They have a shrine set up to her in a closet that maybe no one else has access to. Could be like a big trunk, like a steamer trunk they keep in the basement of the garage. A number of locks on it. They open up and there's pictures and there's maybe souvenirs. There's who knows what else they would have. I don't know NBC. I don't watch any of the morning shows on the networks, but does she come outside, of the studio and talk to people with her mic? I'm not sure how that works. Was he one of the people talking to her on his mic, months ago, years ago, and he has that on videotape. He's blown up every frame. Now it's not even videotape, but recorded material, and that's the little shrine they have this person. So I'm not saying this is an obsessed stalker who took Mrs. Guthrie. Obviously, his goal, you think, would be to take Savannah, but perhaps she's so well protected where she lives and when she travels, whatever, and he didn't want to mess with kids. So, hey, her mother's all over the news with Savannah, and different episodes of the show. Let me go with her, and it's the next best thing. And if that's the case, let's just hope it's a respectful thing. That I really like your daughter. I love your daughter. I just want to talk about her, and hopefully she can just answer the questions he wants in a way to survive and go from there. Or she could have been put in a ditch an hour after the abduction.
Yeah.
So and it still could have been all those other categories I just mentioned: obsessive stalker. Something happened to Mrs. Guthrie, and now she's out, somewhere where she hasn't been found yet. So these are what the agents are looking for. They're not downsizing yet. They're going to be working out these circles. I'm holding my arms out if you're not watching, as far as you can go to cover every one of these leads, and you'd be surprised how something else comes up. And let's go check this guy out. Boy, he's only been to Tucson, 2 or 3 times in the last few years, but he used to live here, or he had a job here 5 years ago, and then all
right, so he's done now, but I know that was long-winded, you guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted him to get the point out. I don't believe that's at all what this is. I'm sorry, but I don't. Oh God. I'm really. I don't. I know it's hard to pinpoint exactly what this is. I feel like it's more about money than any of the things he said, and I don't feel like it's completely about money. So I'll just put it that way. It's kind of wild, so it's hard to figure it out. It was definitely interesting the way he portrayed it, but I don't even know how to explain it. So let me show something else here. Let's see. 1 minute. Are you guys still here? Did he put you guys to sleep?
I'm still here.
Here.
Gotcha. I'm gonna try to. I got you. I heard you guys. Good. Sorry about that.
Go
ahead.
What I want to say was about the Hinckley.
Say that again.
Hinckley, the one that at Reagan.
Right.
His father was vice president of H. Bush's company.
Oh, I had heard that years ago. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Wild.
They knew each other.
Right.
Of course they did. There was his VP. A bit.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, to be honest with you. Okay, so this other thing was in regards to the footage submitted by Nancy's neighbors. surveillance footage. Hold on 1 minute here.
20 days since the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie began, and law enforcement has still not named a suspect or a person of interest. The latest update from the Pima County Sheriff's Department says they are currently reviewing security camera footage from neighboring homes. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly is live outside of Nancy's home with the latest. Chase?
Yeah, Mark, investigators will be going over each one of those videos very carefully to see if they see anything suspicious or someone matching the description of the person we saw in front of Nancy's security camera footage. I want to go ahead and show you that video that was released by the FBI recently, where you can see someone wearing a mask and gloves walking up to the front door. The Sheriff's Department also announcing today that they're not ruling out the possibility that more people could be involved in Nancy's disappearance. They are asking anyone with information on who that masked person is to give them a call, which actually leads to an issue the Sheriff's Department has been dealing with for days. So far this month, they've received 32,000 calls. Now, that's all 911 calls, not just the ones related to Nancy's case. The problem is they say so many people are just calling in to give their thoughts on the situation, not necessarily tips that will help find her. NBC News spoke with the dispatch manager at the Sheriff's 911 Communication Center about what they're looking for.
If you're thinking about calling in a tip or lead, or if you have specific information regarding the case, I ask that you stop and take a moment and think, is this tip viable? Is it credible? What we don't want are the opinions and the thoughts and kind of wondering if investigators are doing A, B, C, and D.
Apart from tips and security camera footage, investigators are still waiting for DNA test results to come back. We know a glove was found about 2 miles away from the home that didn't match any criminal database, but is now being looked at for genetic genealogy. And coming up tonight at 10, we're hearing from an expert about that process who tells me it does take weeks, possibly years, or even decades to get results. We're live in the Catalina foothills. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
All right, Chase, thank you for that.
So I'm curious to see what comes from the neighbors' camera footage, if anything. I hope that there would be something. Also, hold on here. We had something else about this other footage being checked. 1 second. There's a lot of Brian Enton involved in a lot of this stuff, you guys. It's everywhere. I'm just trying to go through everything that was sent to me and the stuff that I have that pops up in my feed for this. And I'm behind by a couple days too, so bear with me. What do I want to hear?
Senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who did that great interview with Sheriff Nanos. Brian, good to see you. I have a lot of questions here, but I always start off with what is the latest on the ground that you're seeing? And also, let me couple this too. There was a lot of activity today. There was movement at Nancy's house with a white van. There was also news that investigators took a look at the home of one of Nancy's neighbors. So can you tell us about that activity as well?
Yeah, so the activity outside the house, Jesse, there was a white pickup truck and a Subaru that showed up to the house.
By the way, this was day 17 that they're talking in regards to.
And the detectives seemed to know they were coming, let them by, let them up the driveway by the garage, which I haven't seen happen before. They weren't law enforcement. There was a man that got out with a briefcase. We had our drone up. They went around to the back of the house, two men. They went into the house. They were in the house for several minutes. Then they came out and left. We don't know. This is it right here. Yeah, this is that white pickup truck. We don't know what they were doing. At first, I thought like maybe friends of the Guthrie family that went to, retrieve something in the house from them. There was other speculation that it may have been a locksmith, which I'm not really sure why they would need a locksmith. But that was one thing that we saw outside the house. Also next door at the neighbor's house, there were detectives that showed up a few hours later and were inspecting a Ring camera. And also there was like a floodlights with a Ring camera on it that they were inspecting for quite a while. Yeah, this is a picture of where they were. Which we haven't seen them talking to that neighbor before. So that was also new and interesting. And in terms of what else was happening on the ground, the main thing today was the DNA, confirming that they put the DNA from the glove into CODIS. and did not get a match, which was obviously not the news that everybody was hoping for, Jesse.
No, especially when it's a database of 19 million offenders and over 1 million forensic profiles. But it's not the end of the story. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know anything about how or if it's being tested through investigative genetic genealogy, family trees? It's been used to solve cold cases in the past.
Yeah, we confirmed that it is. We had suspected the last couple of days that they would go down that route, but we've now confirmed they're going to do IGG, which is investigative genetic genealogy. You mentioned it, just what they did with Koberger. It's one of the ways that they found Brian Koberger. It takes longer, though. It usually takes longer. It could take weeks, it could even take months. There's so many factors here. I was talking to one of the investigators, even depending on what the suspect's origins, it's more difficult with people who have Hispanic origins. There's not as many in the database. So it could be a long process, Jesse, but it's good news that they're doing it because it's been successful in the past.
And look, I don't even know if that glove that was found 2 miles away is even related to this case one way or another. It's just another consideration. I do want to ask you something. I thought this was a key moment in your interview with Sheriff Nanos. There's been a lot of back and forth. Why did you send this DNA analysis to a private lab, not Quantico? I want to play this real quick, get your perspective on the other side.
If I use, for example, a state lab, DPS, or the federal lab, Quantico, you have to understand they have others using those labs too. And so it really puts a lot of strain on them to prioritize those cases and do what they can with them, where if I have my own lab or a contract lab, it allows me easier access to those cases that I think are important to us.
Pause it.
What'd you make of that, Brian?
Yes, sir.
You said a very key word in there. He said me. It allows me access. It wasn't us. It wasn't the department. He said me. That is troubling.
That tells you who he is right there. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do we know, since he is so self-absorbed, that he already knows, he already has the results back? He's just not sharing. Because either A, he knows the person and they're protecting him and he's protecting them, or he's trying to track him down himself so he can play hero.
And that could be that, absolutely either one of them. Here's the thing. As that DNA was sent off to that private lab and then sent back after they ran it, no results given, and said that it had to be run through the state of Arizona first. I looked into this and I can't find it anywhere. It makes no sense to me that's a thing. I looked for some kind of a law, anything like that. Nothing matches up to what that statement being made. So it's weird to me. Not to mention that statement there alone, like me. It's all about him, his ego, in my opinion. All those things are related to that. So this is just the weirdest shit ever, guys. It's crazy. Just saying. But that's good catch and good point there, Dylan, for sure.
And one of the things that, like, last night in the verdict room that made my jaw just absolutely hit the floor was when you're talking about the Idaho case.
Yeah.
And the essentially growing of the touch DNA, that it can be manipulated into whatever you want it to be.
Sure. Very interesting point.
That I full disclosure, I usually listen much later at night while I'm playing NASCAR, and when she mentioned that, I swerved off the track. I was like, wait, what? And it was
an interesting statement. Yes.
Yeah. And so that in among itself is no way could be used in court with that plausibility. And especially with you already had the lead investigator, Fry, say, yeah, we made a lot of mistakes in that, but it's okay. And
To him, it's okay. That's the whole problem with the damn case.
and then you have this whole situation, Othram's getting brought up, and it's like, oh, here we go again.
It is. It's another one of those here we go again situations. Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pin this on some 94-year-old in a wheelchair that doesn't know who the president is.
That's blind and deaf. Yes. I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. Welcome back, Cap. I'm just saying.
With a blind seeing eye dog.
Yes. It would. I just. None of it nothing makes any sense in crime anymore. It just doesn't. It doesn't. The legality side to it, none of it, guys. Any of it. It's insane how things are working out. So.
And now we're playing hot potato. We're playing hot potato with the most critical evidence. Well, what they're saying is the most critical evidence in the case.
Yeah. Yes. There's 35 gloves. They're playing hot potato with DNA. We have a sheriff that says we ain't doing it unless we do it this way, and if you don't like it, right there. None of this is okay with me. None of it. No. And meanwhile, for 21 days, almost a full month now, in 10 days, we have an 84-year-old woman that's out there, in my opinion, deceased somewhere away from her family that knows nothing. In my opinion, I don't think they know anything, and it's sad to me. That's so damn sad.
Like if honestly, if I'm Cash Patel, or I'm like leading the FBI side of this thing, I'm throwing my hands up and saying, you know what, fine, Sheriff, you want to play that game? You're under arrest for obstructing evidence. We are no longer playing this game. We have evidence that he is in that the person is in Colorado. That makes this our case. We are taking it. Now you can either step aside, or we'll get a cell ready for you. Period.
Sure. Agreed. If they have any information whatsoever that takes us across state lines, they should step right in front of him. I don't care what the circumstance is. And if he doesn't allow for it, I agree he should be arrested himself.
And I would use that Google search in Grand Junction, Colorado. That should be enough.
Could be. Yeah, it could be enough. Absolutely.
And the fact that you now have somebody who is saying, "Oh yeah, we saw her in Mexico." That's enough to not only get the FBI involved, but now the CIA can come in, Border Patrol, the U.S. Marshals. Like,
what I want to know is what the family thinks. Is the family okay with Sheriff No or Sheriff being the one that is covering this, or do they want the FBI brought in? That's my question.
I mean, at this juncture, give me Ace Ventura. He cannot be worse than Sheriff Because this is insane.
Too, with the cartels being over there by the border, it's going to be a bigger if this, escalates.
And they're saying now, like a lot of people were saying, no, this ain't cartel. There's no cartel. No cartel. No. And we have people saying, do not discount the cartel at this point, like blatantly stating that. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
You can't discount them right now.
Of course not. You shouldn't discount anybody in this until you have actual solid leads on this. And again, Sheriff is like, we're just going to do it this way. I don't care what you think, but I'm really seriously curious what the Guthries want, what they think, and if it even matters. You know what I mean? It should, but I'm just curious.
To Sheriff no. He does not give a rip.
Oh, to him, no, of course
says.
Right.
But I mean, if I'm the family, and especially with somebody with the platform that Savannah Guthrie has, all she has to do is get on her phone, open up Instagram, record a video saying, "This sheriff is a freaking moron. I want the FBI. We have given him 3 weeks to find my mother, and he is still in a haze."
I almost hope that happens. It probably hasn't, because they're probably in such distress over the loss right now. But I would hope that it would happen at some point, because it's sometimes that may need to be what it is. Like move over and bring in, the real people with this, the people that know what they're doing truly.
Yeah,
Lucy says it seems rather clear that the sheriff does not trust some agencies. He doesn't, in my opinion. He definitely doesn't trust the feds. In my opinion, there's plenty of good reason for this. The FBI is flat out unhinged, and that's true too. Don't get me wrong. We all know that they are, but in a situation like this, um, it's hard. It's like a rock and a hard place. It's hard to say what you would want, but I would trust them in this situation over him right now because of the decisions he's made.
When it comes to the FBI, the people that are in political positions, I'm not gonna trust. The boots on the ground, yes, I'm going to trust.
I mean, honest to God, at this point, I would trust a local city PD to take over this on top of the county, and hell, even maybe the FBI at this point, because we haven't seen anything any better at this point. Just saying.
Give me the local hobo that's selling an 8-ball behind the library.
They would probably know. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, my goodness.
This is wild. It truly is.
Well, look, it's a different story than what we're hearing from FBI sources. I mean, they have said that they wanted it to go to Quantico specifically because they thought it would be faster, especially with the glove, because what we were told last night by FBI sources is that the DNA had to come back to Arizona before it could be put into CODIS, whereas if it had just gone to Quantico, they would have saved time and been able to put it directly into CODIS. So, look, I mean, the sheriff says that this is a lab that they've always used. That's what he told me today. He believes that it was easier to just send everything there. And he says that he talked to the FBI about this and that it was a short conversation and that they didn't have an issue. So, it's hard to...
I'm sure that's what they said.
Say who's right here. Right. I think the sheriff...
The FBI didn't have an issue with this. I'm sure it was that simple. It was a short conversation. They probably said you're an idiot. That's why it was short. End of story. So,
and that ridiculous. There was another key word there that frightens me. It was easiest. It wasn't the right thing.
Yeah,
the easiest. The easiest.
Gotcha.
Like, no, we want to get this right.
That's what the answer should be the whole time.
Does have good intentions, I really do. Yeah. But I think the FBI has been a little, upset with some of the decisions made.
Andrew Black, you and I have probably never seen a case with the components that this one has. And it now has an added unusual feature. The sheriff, while Nancy Guthrie is still very much in the wind, clears the entire family. What do you make of that?
Well,
them talking about the DNA being non-white and difficult to IgG. A family tree is total shit. The Department of Justice has been collecting DNA profiles from illegals for years under Biden. Thank you, Lucy. That's a very good point.
Guthries have been through a lot, and I think it's a good thing for them, obviously. What concerns me is the messaging. It's a unilateral message coming from the sheriff's department. The FBI and the sheriff's department should be lockstep in messaging. The FBI should be leading the messaging, should be leading the press conferences, should be leading the media relations. The executives in the FBI are trained with media and reporters on how to message properly, coherently.
This is all true, but listen, folks, as much as I'm complaining about the FBI not leading this, I don't trust them either. Okay, you know that. You guys have been here with me. We've covered the Idaho 4 case. I don't trust them. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust any of it. But at this point, in this situation, if you got to kind of go with the better of the two horrible entities. I'll just put it that way, in my opinion, as far as an experience. Okay, so understand it's not that I'm a FBI fan. I think they're just the better of the two worst. I'll just say it that way. The what is it? How do you? There's a phrase that you use for that. I can't think of it. The least of two.
The lesser of two evils.
lesser of two evils. There we go. I couldn't think of it, but that's my thought. That's all I'm saying.
And the wording of the message from the sheriff's department was a little peculiar, begging the media to honor their profession, and to report with compassion and professionalism. I think a lot of the reporting has been handled that way. So I thought it was really odd language. I think it would have been better if the FBI and the sheriff's department collaborate in any messaging going forward.
Right. But look, we know what he was talking about, right? Casey, we now have a new layer of speculation with all of these desperate digital media folks who live off clickbait. And they've been running every kind of theory they can. And a lot of it is to the disadvantage of the Guthrie family. And some of the people even used to work with Savannah Guthrie. So it makes the kind of blind dogging on it even more disgusting. And I think that's what motivated the sheriff's moment. Now, Casey, you and I are not surprised that the glove that they found didn't wind up being connected and yielding that DNA. What do you make of what's next for them? And what level of confidence do you have in this list of 40 names and where that may be derived from?
You want to pause it for a second?
Okay, so we weren't surprised.
That is exactly why nobody watches Chris Cuomo. Right there. Because everybody...
He's really loud.
Do what?
That, and he's really loud. Sorry.
He is literally dogging on his audience for having an interest in this. I mean,
you should see the Megyn Kelly ripped him.
I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, she's calling him afraid, and then she she was going back years of stuff that he did. Oh my God, it was kind
I
of
heard
fun to
about
watch.
that.
It was good to watch. He stuck up for all the podcasters and social media. He said most people that have a person would wish that kind of coverage. And
right.
She was good. He's just you could play a little bit of that, and she goes, "Oh man, wow!"
Right, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Miss Girl says that Sheriff was personally involved in a past RICO funds controversy in his department. So wondering if that's why he's so defensive. Well, he was brought up. Yeah, that is what it was talked about. Miss Girl is that he doesn't like them because of that whole being indicted thing or whatever it was when they or not being indicted, but when they accused him of these things, so on and so forth. And ever since then, he's held a grudge. So that would make sense. Sorry to cut you off, Cap. Go ahead, bud.
Just saying, with Megyn Kelly was just like I was floored back because she just went off, pull back.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. I heard about that.
Well, I find it funny that he's trying to position Megyn Kelly as like alternative media, yet she's on Sirius and
they're the same. They're in the same boat, in my opinion.
They're in the same boat, except people actually watch Megyn Kelly.
And his channel is broadcast on the internet. News Nation is broadcast via the internet. Okay, that's the main positioning for this channel. News Nation is through YouTube. Okay, back down, Chris. Calm down, bud. You're not any better than anybody else, so just relax, buddy.
Yeah, even Brian Ensign got his show.
What's that?
Well, Brian Ensign works for News Nation and also
right.
So,
yep. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and not to mention his time at CNN and why he got told to not come back.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true.
Got a little handsy.
When I was there in the early 2000s, everybody liked Greg Gumbel. Tom Brokaw, I was a fan of Tom's. That's back when news was news, in my opinion. It was real. So things have definitely changed.
The numbers show it that there's more people listening to Joe Rogan than watching Fox News. There's more people watching YouTube than any other platform on the planet. And
right.
It's so tone deaf and so stupid, and he's running cover for a corrupt sheriff who may or may not be involved in a kidnapping in which he is investigating.
Agreed. Yes, and I think so, Kim. From my understanding, I believe so. Yes.
Mainstream media too is they're pushing a commercial like every 5 seconds before they get to the news that's going on live, you know.
Yes.
So it's not
It's
YouTube where you can get your news instantly, clips, you know.
you get well, you got to understand. You get truth too, Cap. That's the difference. We don't read from scripts here. Okay, we don't take a script that somebody hands us and say, okay, guys, this is what they told me to tell you. No, we look into every bit of truth we can find and say, this is what we believe it to be. This is what we believe to be the truth. This is what we're finding. We take these clips from these news channels and we kind of weed through it and read between the lines and try to break it down to make it as truthful as possible, which is why media can't stand YouTubers, because we take away from what they do. They don't like that.
Well, taken away even more now. Every year it gets more and more the podcast from the mainstream. And you know, the thing is, a lot of creators and stuff, some of them are they have common sense, like you, Dago.
Thank you.
Think things out, look for the truth.
Try. Right.
You know, and try to let people talk about it and see what they come up with. It's not about bashing everybody. It's about, you know, people are curious. We're naturally curious. It's human nature.
And we have the right to know. That's the thing. And like they've boxed it off in mainstream to, this is all you deserve and need to know. But, you know, I know we work for you, and I know that you pay our bills, or you pay our salaries, but it doesn't matter what you say. We're in charge. And it's just no. And that's why law enforcement uses the media, because they know that the media will only put out what they tell them to put out, so on and so forth. And I swear they get kickbacks from them. I swear they do, but that's just me.
No more Walter Cronkites, right?
No, and there's no integrity left in it. Like I said, I would be happy to go watch Tom Brokaw, Walter Cronkite, or any of those older, when news was built with integrity, when it was put out with emotion, with real live like feeling and truth and all that bullshit. These people now are a joke, and they just don't care. And it's sickening. Yeah, that's it right there, Jessica. We're more personal. We do it the old school way, because that's what we know, and we try to find the truth within the bullshit. They don't do that. They don't care. They get their paychecks for saying what they say, for reading a teleprompter, and they go home every night. That's it.
Some so-called the facts, the truth, mainstream media is getting to be like Jerry Springer show.
Oh my God, it is big time.
So it's like, I mean, compared to years ago when I grew up, everything was, you know, play. You know, there wasn't sides or nothing. It was the truth. What came and informing people and the public know what's going on, and you know, it was good. Like CNN's heyday was the Gulf War I, Desert Storm.
Yeah.
That was probably their you know, highest that they were with the coverage of the Gulf War.
Right, and then the government took news channels, Fox and CNN, and they used them for their own personal vendettas to politicize everything, when that's not what everybody wanted to see. And that's where the divide came, and split everybody in half, and did this and did that, and caused all the societal disruption and fighting between people and all that kind of bullshit like that. And it's not, again, what it should be about, but that's what they do with it, period. So
I mean, it's like worse than kindergarten children sometimes watching them here.
It is bad, very bad.
And I mean, we just had I think yesterday another person trying to kill Donald Trump again because of what the media says.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got into Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
And a big gas can.
Wow, I missed that.
You know?
Yeah.
Not surprised, but yeah.
Well, he's deceased now.
I'm sure he is. Especially with the way things have been going, I'm sure he's done.
And just the overall quality is better, has been better with streaming, and that's across every niche. I mean, like NASCAR is actually the perfect example, because for the first time ever last year they went to Prime, and just the quality of the broadcast, the producing, all of that was so much better than what Fox has done. It is it's like Fox has billions of dollars. They can't even give us a post-race show to kind of break down what happened. It's just Oh, hey, look, Chase Elliott won. Good night, everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just look what they did with the Super Bowl this year, you guys. For as long as I can remember, the Super Bowl would come on, it would play the halftime, the commercials were great. The halftime show would come on, they'd put on a pretty decent show depending on what it was. This year they had two separate shows for the halftime show. The commercials were leading in certain aspects, depending on which ones you saw or you didn't see, and just it was a bunch of crazy shit this year. So things are going in a direction that I'm very uncomfortable with. I'll just put it that way.
What was the Jay-Z in charge of that? They blame it on Jay-Z or something like that, I heard. Because I couldn't watch it. I had to shut it off. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch that buddy bad whatever he was guy. I was back here with you guys doing this for that anyway, but it
Yeah.
was just wild. I watched pieces and parts of it, and I saw the one, like my household, they watched the one that Kid Rock was on instead of the other one and stuff like that. It was wild. So
Yeah,
it's getting crazy.
From my understanding, in the translation of some of Bad Bunny's songs, Fox and the NFL is going to have some explaining to do on the language that was used to the FCC.
Yeah, that's how I was. That's what I was told about it too. Some of the stuff that he I don't know anything about it, but I heard that. Yeah. So
sounds about right.
Right.
You know.
Anyway, welcome, Hemi. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Well, hello, guys.
On we go.
Yeah.
Surprised that there was not an immediate match. I mean, this isn't like Criminal Minds where everything gets solved in 43 minutes. But they have DNA. They have DNA from the glove and they have DNA from inside the house. It does not appear to be the same DNA, but this is great. And just because it's not in CODIS, because CODIS has a very narrow parameter for what DNA it's going to have submitted to it. Usually you have to be arrested and convicted of a felony, a murder, a sexual assault, like a rape, unless you're a missing person or they even have DNA from dead bodies. But the point is, just because this person has not been convicted of a felony before doesn't mean he's not out there and we can't still get his DNA eventually. The big game right now, and we are in it for the long haul, is to narrow down the suspect pool. And this is a long slog, but it's just how it works. You get those names from the Walmart data bank, people who have purchased this backpack, and then you start going around and shoes on the pavement. Ask the gun shop owners, some of whom don't watch TV and don't know anything about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Does this guy look familiar to you? Do you have any of these names in your data bank of people who've purchased guns? Oh, you do? Let's take a look at that driver's license. I mean, this is how it's done. So I'm not hopeless at all. This is just the beginning of a long investigative process. And we will, I have no doubt, figure out who that suspect on the porch is. It may just take a while.
So, Andrew, in terms of what we know about timing,
we don't have a while.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, you're right.
And she's saying it so nonchalantly, like it's it's going to take some time, but we're going to get there. It's like no. This should have started 3 weeks ago.
And what are you going to investigate everyone that bought backpack, the same backpack? Like, it's got a gray area there. Rights and shit.
I'm not even convinced it's an Ozark backpack.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Yeah, but I mean, some kid in Florida could have went and on his first skiing trip at a flat to Colorado or something, go skiing, and went and bought the Walmart there. Bought the skiing, the clothes to go skiing for a week or something.
This stuff could have been bought years ago, by the way, too. We don't know. You know what I mean? I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, like that mask could be old. It could even be from the 80s or something.
Right.
Who knows, Actually, it resembles these mask, if you ever saw that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it exempt. Yeah. Crazy, man.
It
is absolutely.
It's grasping at straws.
Yeah, and that's kind of shameful to me, because to me that tells me that they have no idea how to. And I still feel, and I know I'm going to get people keep telling me that the FBI is no better, but I'm telling you, if the FBI would have been in charge of this, I don't think we'd be sitting here having this conversation. I feel like this would have been either solved or almost solved at this point completely. Okay. If they would have had the lead, but they don't. In turn, like she said, it's just going to take a while. We don't have a while. It's 21 days for an 84-year-old sickly woman. It's insane.
You have to assume under the precedence of her being until there's no till it's over, you know?
Right. Agreed.
You know, could she be kept somewhere? Could she kept somewhere where they're getting their medication? Anything's possible. But I wouldn't just give up on her now and say, hey, you know, she's probably deceased and we'll just take her time now. You know, I don't think that's the right way to go at it.
Not even close. No, sir. I agree with you.
Hey, they got a basketball game to get to, okay?
Yeah, that was something else.
Oh my God. We're on it 24/7. You're at the basketball game having hot dogs.
Now, my understanding with that was that his brother had died in the basketball game. It was some kind of an honor thing about his brother, so on and so forth. So I understand to an extent that part of that thing, but everything else he's done, I can't bring an excuse to it to make it make sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Often in your experience has someone taken someone for profit and not come forth in an insistent way with a demand like this?
Not in my career. I've been involved in numerous kidnappings in my career, and it's a business transaction. The individuals have kidnapped someone, they're holding them for ransom, and they have a plan to make contact with the family or law enforcement right away. This is like no kidnapping case that I have seen.
One other quick thing, the gun. I haven't studied the video, but I am told by people on the ground there that, yeah, they saw the weapon, they identified what kind of weapon it is, and that's where they got the 40 names because they closed it into a pretty tight circle of who sells it and where. Does that make sense to you that they're able to get enough identification detail from what they see in this video to make that kind of ask?
Yes, I think it's something about the gun or the holster, because identified where the holster was manufactured and sold. So between the type of gun and the holster, that could be driving this latest series of investigations.
When we get more, we've asked the Google, hey guys, can you do this? And they said the very same thing. Sheriff, we don't think we can get anything, but we'll try. And that's all we're hopeful.
That is Sheriff Chris Nanos telling our Brian Enton he's asking Google to help unearth footage from Nancy Guthrie's other home cameras. You know, we had the footage from her front door. Now they're working on the others. By the way, she doesn't have an active subscription for saving her video history. Let's get right on out to News Nation national correspondent Jessica Cartalia, who's live for us in Tucson. Jessica, I was also struck by the fact that the sheriff said he's hopeful that they can find Nancy soon.
Yeah, he says he's confident and he's determined. He says we will find her. He says that he believes that investigators are one step closer to solving this case and figuring out where Nancy Guthrie may be. When he spoke with our Brian Enton, Markey, he compared the process of identifying that man at the front door through that Nest camera to peeling off layers of paint to reach older data while still keeping it intact. Remember, as you mentioned, Nancy did not have a subscription, so investigators had to work with Google to uncover that overwritten footage. You think of video just being layered on top of video. We're also learning that there are additional cameras.
And we asked, I think it's Google Nest, Google, hey, what can you do with this? And we gave them the other cameras and asked the same. And they said, well, there's not a subscription here. And it is hard because it overwrites itself, right? I don't know how many hours, maybe it's every 36 or 72, whatever it is.
Now that's a gun that he had in that holster in front. The holster is made for a revolver, like a .357 revolver or something like that. it is not made for the type of gun he had in there. So it was something he either borrowed, had laying around, or it's a joke either way. But no, it's not a hand axe or any kind of thing like that. There's a gun of some sort in that, but that's all it was.
But you know what, Sheriff? We'll try. Thank you. Away they went. So there's other cameras.
Nano says investigators have also collected DNA, fingerprints, weapons, computers, and phones. 400 investigators from multiple agencies, including the FBI, as we know, are working around the clock. Excuse me. Authorities are not speculating on whether what the motive could have been, including whether or not the crime was random or connected to Savannah Guthrie. The sheriff also pushed back against claims that investigators lack experience and are refusing to cooperate with the FBI.
They know that they have someone who believes in them and their work. They're going to do it. I have 100% faith they will solve this case. If you were the guy, if you were that monster, you should be worried. You should let her go.
Oh my God, dude. This thing isn't a freaking movie.
Lack of experience. It's all over the place. It's not just here. It's everywhere.
Hey, did you guys see where the spots were on the front? Did you see glass shards there? Because I saw this morning they were re-showing it. Like glass was broken there.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the front, I'm talking the front of where the blood spots were.
Where the blood splatter was. Yeah. There was some kind of glass pieces there. Yes.
Yeah, small pieces, very small pieces.
Exactly. This is ridiculous with this guy.
I see why we're having an interview in his office, because he don't want to get out in the public and face the music. And I know Eaton ain't going to be the man to say anything to him to the contrary. Because if real journalists will be getting in your ass, because it'll be like, okay, what if this was your mother? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian
It comes to them in that perspective, because it's like, look, guy, we're 3 weeks in this game. You know?
Well, he's gonna treat these guys with kick gloves.
Yes.
He doesn't want them to cut him off.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Brian Enton, he's not a confrontational person. He would never. So that's a joke. And the things he's saying, first off, his investigative team is very young. That's been pointed out already. Okay. And so their experience level is lacking for sure. And that happens. It's maybe if you'd have been a different type of person, maybe you'd have some experienced veterans there working under you still, but they all ran. So it is what it is. So yeah, they're definitely hence there another reason, in my opinion, to bring another agency in to help you in this aspect. Okay.
Well, the FBI is right there.
Well, he don't want them. He don't want them. It's kind of pathetic.
Well, FBI has their own issues too. I mean, I'm listening to retired ex-agents on other podcasts just blasting the new FBI director.
Yes,
and
I've heard it.
Wondering and waiting if Trump is going to fire his ass, because he doesn't let go all the top agents in the whole FBI. That's the reason why FBI are the way they are today. I've never, in my 48 years of being on this earth, ever seen any negative publicity towards the FBI as much as I've had today. That says a lot. And then I look at what's underneath it, is our law enforcement is being massively untrained. And we have leaders like this joker here putting in place that they shouldn't even be. We see this in Idaho. Same damn thing. And then you got this clown, Eaton, act like that's the biggest thing he's ever done in his whole career is Idaho, and keeps referring to Idaho.
Yeah.
It's maddening. It really is. It's crazy.
I don't know about him getting fired, though, because Trump is the one that picked Cash Patel and put him in that position. So
Well, I don't know. But I'm just saying that's what people are saying. They go. That's where I was coming from. This is coming from ex-agents, FBI.
Understood. Absolutely.
But this case compared to Idaho 4 is totally different cases, in my opinion.
Different type of case.
Yeah. You could go back as Lindbergh, baby. You could go J.P. Getty, the kidnapping of his grandson.
Yes,
and they actually sent here to show that they had him.
Right.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, proof of life.
Where's the sense of urgency? We're 3 weeks in this game. We ain't even scratched the field yet. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I put it all here. This is where I put all the blame, is right here. That little finger pointing out away from him needs to be turned around, pointing at him, in my opinion.
And he ain't gonna point his finger right back at him either.
No.
He ain't gonna do that. He's a softball.
Yep. Welcome, April.
Just let her go.
Are you getting closer?
I think we are. But I have to have that belief, right? I have to have that faith. Every day, we'll keep at it. We ain't quitting.
Oh boy.
He also expressed, some feelings about being taken, some of his quotes being taken out of context. Markey also said that some of these conspiracies and inaccurate reporting is really doing some damage on the morale of investigators who are out here. But he says that he has full confidence that they will solve this case.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. It is day 17 of the Nancy Guthrie case. And
I will say, if I was the kidnapper, I would be feeling very, very safe right now that they're never going to find me.
I would definitely feel as though I got away with it. I mean, honestly, at this point, 100%.
I would be more concerned if someone
well, the one thing is this can't be too stupid, because he's got away with it for a while.
Right.
I mean, compared to the agencies and all the people on it, you got to think,
Yes, agreed. I'm trying to pull this other footage up. Keep going, guys. Sorry.
And I saw a thing.
Did you see the September robbery footage? House?
I have not yet. No.
There is a couple, and they look dressed the same way.
What a lovely couple.
It was in September, in her area, right to the front door. They were, and then they had cameras in the back of the house as well.
Wow, that's crazy.
And but yeah, I mean, I would feel unbelievably safe right now if I was the kidnapper. Just got away with this. What's the next one?
Right. Yeah. And this next thing I agree with you on that part too. Just keep on going. So my understanding is that there was footage that was revealed via the FBI from 6 a.m. that it just popped up that was part of what we were going to talk about today. At that point, but I'm really curious as to, when the very beginning they said that there was nothing could be found, no footage whatsoever. All of a sudden, little by little, just like another case we know, these things are slowly but surely being brought out to the surface. Do you know what I mean? Which I think is kind of crazy. So,
yeah.
And I remember seeing a thing where it might have been the sheriffs, might have been the FBI, or just somebody who is a quote unquote expert, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this was an amateur. This is amateur hour here. Why would they do this, that, and the other?" And it's like, well, we're on week 3. Sheriff still has no idea where to go. So I don't think it was amateur hour, at least not on the side of the kidnappers. And calling Sheriff an amateur would be an insult to amateurs.
That's a good point. And I don't have the footage. I'm basing this off of news reports. I can't find actual footage on this new footage they're talking about. And then they said that, where the hell is it at? Nancy Guthrie case erupts after FBI reveals 6 a.m. footage. Senate reacts, blah, 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 stuff like that. So I'm looking around. There is no new footage that I can see that's been released to the public, but it's in multiple places where they're saying that they released it somewhere. I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. So I don't know what the hell what they're talking about, to be honest with you, unless they're talking about other camera footage they found in other places, but there's no um there's no footage that they're presenting to the public at this point that I've found thus far. Let's see here.
All I can say is I'd be spending a lot more money on security if I am a high profile media person.
Sure.
At this point, for everybody in my family that I cared about,
Very much agreed.
I'd even have a bodyguard for the dog.
That's actually kind of funny, but yes, I agree.
You lay down your life for Scruffy.
Okay, where are we at time? Yeah. So let me see here.
I don't know. Maybe it'll take a few lawsuits to get everything back the way it's supposed to be, but this ain't it.
Maybe.
If I'm the Gunthries, I'm already I would have been talking to a lawyer a week ago. Like,
oh God, yeah, definitely. Most definitely. There should be lawsuits from the family, in my opinion, after the fact. When this is all said and done, I would not be surprised. They should, though.
and the one dude that that FBI raided his house and allegedly without a warrant.
And shake enough trees, something.
That is definitely a lawsuit, especially if it's true that there wasn't a warrant.
Right. Good point. Let me see something here.
And they still haven't cleared him, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Like, is he actually completely and totally physically cleared from this situation? Because the last time I looked at that, he wasn't, and I'm curious about why.
Because these are the most incompetent. This is the most incompetent police force I have ever seen.
Well, I think it's based on their leadership. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it starts there.
Yeah.
So it's just maddening because I see the same thing happening over and over and over all over the country. It's just not one specific area. It's everywhere. It's maddening. It's crazy.
Yes, sir. So this next thing's probably gonna be the last thing we review on this. There really isn't anything else. Like I said, I've been digging all day trying to find this new footage based on the news release. I don't see it, so they haven't released it, obviously. So we're gonna go. I know a lot of you guys aren't fans of these guys, but they did bring out some good points in the last one that we reviewed over this. Mark Garagos and good old Mr. TMZ himself, Harvey, having a discussion about this, about what's going on behind the scenes with this, so on and so forth. So we can break it down with this, see what you guys think, and go from there. And again, gentlemen, thank you for being up here with me today. I appreciate your input, thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this, as always.
Intensely interested in that first ransom note that we got.
Do you believe that is their best lead right now?
In the universe I'm looking at, this is their
Thank you.
best lead. Welcome to the Two Angry Men podcast. Mark, I got to tell you, we have been all over the Nancy Guthrie case. We know a lot, and it is stunning to me in 2026. With all the technology, law enforcement is stumped. The way it was put to me by somebody in the FBI
Bingo.
yesterday was, we are shaking the trees trying to find something, but it is unbelievable to me. And we're going to get into, the ransom note and all the other things, but they don't have a hard lead 3 weeks in.
Can I jump?
Well, yes, sir. What's up? Are you there?
That was the video, Dago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was getting interrupted by the older guy.
I thought Dylan said something because his thing blinked, and then my apologies, guys.
And tell you
Please.
What my great frustration for watching this 25 years ago, before there was a TMZ, I defended Gary Condit on the Chandra Levy disappearance.
I remember it well.
And you remember it well. And one of the great frustrations about that, and by the way, I can tie this to other famous type investigations, was that law enforcement became so fixated on the scandal that the obvious, or the Occam's razor solution, eluded them. I kept saying at the time, look, that you have somebody in custody back then who has been charged by prosecutors with knocking women over who were wearing headphones in the park. That is your most obvious suspect. That fits the facts. I remember early on in this case, some of the people, the internet was ablaze. It had to be the family. I mean, these wild speculations about the family and this.
It's hilarious. Harvey's looking at Mark like, why are you talking about something from 1936? We're talking about now. Are you done? Like, come on. These two crack me up.
That and the craziest stuff you'd ever seen. Guess what had happened early on is people said, because, and I'm guilty of this as anybody, because we're on the coast, we don't understand. You are 60 miles from the border. These kinds of things, these failed home invasions or abductions
It's not a home invasion, Mark.
are more common. They're not uncommon. And I think the diversion of resources that allowed this to go cold is one of the reasons that we're now sitting here, how many days or weeks afterwards, where everything has gone cold, because so much time was focused on the distraction of the scandal.
I disagree with you. I
know you do.
I agree with you partly on the sheriff's side, not on the FBI side. This was not a home invasion. Based on what I know, I would bet a lot of money that this is somebody. I know it's somebody in the Tucson area for various reasons. It's somebody in the Tucson area who either knows Nancy Guthrie or knows of her, and she rightly brags about her famous daughter, who is the anchor of the Today Show, and that she makes a lot of money because that's a prized position. And somebody looked at Nancy and said, well, this is an easy target to get some money. And that's the way this thing hatched. It's somebody who lives in the Tucson area. And I know this
theory.
I know this.
Even your theory. If they weren't spending so much time running down the rabbit holes of the what I would call the scandal or the usual
But who's doing that? The FBI is not doing that.
I know they aren't, but the FBI, when did the FBI land on the ground here?
A couple of days after, but look.
Right, by the way, ask any law enforcement person.
I know it's 24 to 48 hours.
After a couple of days, you're behind the eight ball, proverbial eight ball.
Mark, I'm going to tell you, without getting too specific, the FBI is intensely interested in that first ransom note that we got. Intensely. They have been on the phone with my IT team multiple times. And I'm not going to go into specifics here, but they have been on the phone with us. They believe that this may well be the person who kidnapped Nancy. They are working on that. They have a team right now that is doing nothing but trying to track down who purchased that backpack over the last year, Who purchased a jacket similar to that? Or not similar, we know what kind of jacket it is now. Who purchased a holster like that? The holster is odd for the kind of gun that was in there. It usually doesn't carry a semi-automatic handgun. They have now gone to gun stores and they've tracked down 40 people who bought that holster. They are doing, I mean, they're doing, I'm impressed. I am impressed. I am impressed with the FBI.
Have they given you any indication that the subsequent notes from somebody who is a self-styled either Confederate or a participant or knows the participant, they given you any indication whatsoever that they believe that's genuine?
Yes. They, I can't say they know it's genuine, but they are really interested in this person who has sent us.
So why don't they? And by the way, I've had people just from doing this show with
What's up, Willie?
I've had, and it's not the first time in my career, I've had people who've either wanted to put up money for bail or put up money for a reward or things of that nature. Why hasn't that been done?
Well, I can't answer.
Why hasn't the person who apparently knows and is afraid of the consequences, so to speak, why hasn't somebody said, okay, well, we will pay you, we'll give you protection, we'll lawyer you up, just give us the information you have. We'll give you, they have a thing called Queen for a Day. You got the feds, you got the FBI, they know what it is. Give them a queen for a day. Tell them nothing you say is going to be used against you.
I think he's worried more about retaliation by people. This sounds like, listen, if he's telling the truth, this is not just one person. He says it, that there is a main kidnapper, there are others. Now, look, he may be full of crap. He may be full of crap.
Who do you think that is? If he's worried about retaliation, it begs the obvious question. This wasn't, Shlomo and Candy Ass who were down at the corner at the local 7-Eleven. This is something that's a little bit more sophisticated. Absent the fact that I will agree with the people who have said the way this gun was held and some of the movements of the person who was captured on video kind of beg that question, right? Because that person looks like they're a Shlomo of some kind.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I cannot answer the question why they haven't paid this guy the money. I cannot answer why Savannah Guthrie said a week in, we will pay you, and it hasn't been paid. I don't know why. There's clearly a reason, and nobody has shared that reason for me. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't.
What?
Monster Math presents multiplication. Okay, class, let's.
Welcome to the future.
I'm losing brain cells from this.
And you give them over how your name appears on .com.
Well, I will tell you what I think is based on what you're telling me. You have a first note, which actually, if I understand the timeline, came after the two notes that went to the local Tucson stations. They believe, if what you're saying is accurate, and I have no reason to doubt that it is, that the FBI believes that the note you received, which was preceded by the two Tucson local notes, is legit. So then fast forward to the next thing, Savannah gives a statement. Obviously, they had some information beyond the note you received for Savannah to give that statement because it was interactive in the sense she was answering something. If she's answering something and they believe that your note was legitimate, then that explains why she said what she said. I hear you. We're willing to go forward, blah, 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 because they believe now that there is something consistent in another communication that fits with the communication you received.
Okay. I mean, it's a theory. It's a theory.
What other theory is there? What other theory can there be besides the fact that this is either a stranger and not somebody related, and it took the sheriff to have to quell that, but that there was so much time, in my opinion, that was wasted running down the absurd.
Well, they always look. They always look at family.
Always.
So that was not wasted time. That was not wasted time.
It was wasted resources. The obvious thing here. By the way, has anybody determined when law enforcement came into possession of the unsubscribed Ring or Nest video? What day was that?
Well, no.
They
They got the way they got this video is remarkable, and I don't fully understand it. But this is not video at 1:47 in the morning when the camera was disabled. This was at 2:12 when the electronics detected movement, and they were able to use Google to scrape video. I don't know how they did that, but they were working on that.
Oh, you wait until you see the comments about that in the either LA Mag or TMZ. The comments will have a lot to say about that. But the fact remains, when did they have that? Obviously, Google knew they had it in order to scrape. So somebody would have known within the first 12 hours that they had that. It's not like a light bulb went off. You knew this was a national story within 12 hours. You knew that there was some kind of video that was available. If you had that video, why are you subsequent to the first 24 hours running around wasting resources on the family?
I want to go back to something where people are saying, why don't you just pay the guy? I mean, I've done interviews where people have said, well, why doesn't TMZ just pay? And I just think that's insane. That the idea, there's some reason, and I don't know what it is, but there's some reason that the Guthries haven't paid. There's some reason law enforcement hasn't done it. And for us to step up and do it, we might unwittingly get in the way of something they're working on. I think it's insane that for a news operation to do that.
In defense of everybody who was asking you that, I remember where I was sitting down the street when I asked you the same thing. I had the immediate response, why don't you pay? And you did make a very compelling point to me. You don't want to unwittingly compromise the investigation, right? But when you're getting on the hotline with the FBI, why not offer to pay and at least make that offer? That's kind of my follow-up to that.
We did do something that I know authorities were fine with, which is we said, look, you don't trust law enforcement.
Thank you, Meg.
And they don't trust you. That's what you're saying. So given that, give us the information, and then we'll give it to the FBI. And then if that information leads to the capture of the kidnapper and finding Nancy, now there's a record that we have to call the FBI on the carpet if they don't pay you. So it's not like you've given something to the FBI, nobody knows what you gave, and they hide it and all and don't pay you. It's like, if you give it to us, we know what it is, and we will put a bright light on it after they find her and find the kidnapper, and you'll get your money. And so we were kind of a go-between in that sense. I
look, intellectually, as a concept, that makes perfect sense. Somebody who's scared out of their mind over repercussions, they're never going to feel comfortable there. There needs to be another layer before they come to you, before you go to the authorities, and that's why.
Okay, so help me out.
I'm sure.
So help me out, because I don't know the answer to this. So I know they're interested in both those letters, those emails that we got from the person who wants the reward, and they're interested in the ransom note. They haven't paid the ransom, and they haven't paid this guy for the reward, for the information. They are definitely interested in these. I can tell you that for a fact, but they haven't paid. I cannot figure out why. Why do you think? I'm stumped. I'm stumped.
Any explanation for it, especially given the fact that Savannah comes out and says we will pay. If she was willing to pay, to my mind, if your mom has been abducted, I would pay for information if it just is even remotely credible. I know, the old expression, you don't negotiate with terrorists. That goes out the window when you're talking about your mom.
So,
and obviously, I think she's following whatever advice she's getting. So far, she's been pitch perfect. I wouldn't second guess anything she's done.
Nor am I.
So I'm not second guessing that. I'm just saying, hear me loud and clear, that you would have to have a really, really compelling reason not to pay, especially someone, if they have the way you have described the person who, for lack of a better term, is a Confederate.
That's very possible. Hester, does anyone think that the FBI is actually negotiating with kidnappers now and everything else is just background? Very plausible, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I think I think the kidnappers are gone with the wind.
You don't think they're even around anymore?
No, I don't think there was any negotiation to begin with.
Gotcha.
These TMZ letters, I think they're either fake or somebody that is in that circle of kidnappers is just trying to get a quick payday without the other ones.
What do you think of his statement about how interested they were in the first letter he received?
I mean, it's Harvey, so you take it with a grain of salt. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how interested they would be in, because the more and more that we know, the less and less it looks like it's ransom.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gotcha.
the ransom could be real. It could be the icing, but it's not the actual cake.
Right. Makes sense. Makes
by
sense.
By the way it's all looking, I got to look at the Google search that was in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks like it is an attack on mainstream media.
It could be. Could be. Very possible. There's many angles that this could fit right into, in my opinion. So, and that's why we do this. I always enjoy your guys' thoughts and feelings on this stuff as we break stuff like this down to talk about this. If there's anything that could come out of this that makes any sense, or the exact opposite, is why we look at these things. So,
I mean, wouldn't you want some form of proof of life? We ain't got that.
That should have happened in the first week, first
So
day.
that probably be the reason why she ain't paid up. Hey, I'm just not gonna give you no money without some form of proof.
I think she was gonna pay. This is just my opinion. I think they were gonna pay, and I think the FBI said no. There's no proof of life. We don't have any. You're going to be giving somebody free money for nothing, and that's exactly why I think the FBI. I think that came from the FBI to them. That's just my opinion. It may not be at all what happened. That's what I feel like could have happened.
I also don't think
someone did put $300 in that crypto account.
Yeah, I think that was a tester thing or something, like testing it or something, maybe to see if they would like go after it, and then they could try to trace them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. You know.
And then Harvey came out and said that I think it was the fourth or the fifth email he got that they changed the cryptocurrency to something different. So I don't even know what to think of this shit, you guys. Truly and honestly, I don't with this stuff.
Or something like that. It was changed to Menno, something like that. I heard.
So, yeah, it was something in that form. I don't know the crypto stuff very well, you guys. So excuse my ignorance as far as that goes.
You know what crypto means, right? In Greek, it means.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you broke up.
Crypto, hidden in Greek.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that.
That's where they got the name from.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hidden money, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wild. Interesting. Very interesting. Thanks for putting that out there, Cap. I never knew that. Learn something new every day. That's awesome.
That one is really a head scratcher to me.
So I want to talk to you about something, because I have rarely, nor has TMZ, been in a position like this. This is kind of a weird position we're in, that we are the receptacle of these emails. And because of that, we're dealing with law enforcement. And, I remember back when we did this, we've only done this a few times because there is a wall between journalists. I mean, we're not law enforcement. That's not our job, is crime stopping. Our job is reporting. And so there are times
by the way, as a postscript, it's one of the reasons I've always been so adamant against gag orders, because law enforcement, nobody leaks to the media more than law enforcement. So, and you've got source privilege. So,
right.
Anyway, go on.
But, I remember doing this back in the Aaron Andrews case, where there was this peeping Tom that was kind of lurking, and we got an email from that person and worked with the FBI because she was really at risk in that case. And they caught him as a result. And we really haven't dealt with this much, since then, I think a couple of times maybe. This is a weird position for us to be in. And there have been a couple of situations, I haven't really talked about this before, but it's kind of interesting, that we require subpoenas in order to, dole out whatever it is. And, they've wanted.
Right, that's your corporate policy.
Right,
I mean, that
right.
is corporate policy.
That's right. And it's just that's what you have to do with if you're media. And so, there have been a couple of occasions where the subpoenas I felt and my team felt were just really overly broad. And, and I understood why law enforcement wanted it. They want as much information as they can get. But at the same time, we can't compromise, sources in other cases, maybe people who send in tips, and give that to law enforcement, just because they think it might help them if it doesn't directly connect to this. And so,
it's become kind of the new normal as citizen journalism has increased, as legacy media has ebbed. This is kind of the new ethical boundaries, because traditionally legacy media, so-called legacy media, has that what I call the wall of source protection, especially on the state side. Federal, it's a little more fungible, but there is that. And then there is how law enforcement traditionally has used media, but it's generally been kind of law enforcement to media, not reciprocating. And what you're talking about is now you've been dragged in or insinuated into the story itself by virtue of you being a conduit.
Well, and when we got these overly broad subpoenas, I was actually kind of impressed with the way it worked out, because we just said to them, look, we want to cooperate with you to save this woman, but we are not going to do it at the expense of our news operation, because we're running a news operation and we've got to create a balance here where we give you useful information, but we're not going to open our vault, so to speak, and give
Good
you,
point, Mike.
people who have sent in other tips just in case, and so we said, this is overly broad and we're not going to comply with it. We'll fight it. And they were more than reasonable. And they said, we get it. And they narrowed it.
Yeah. You're old enough to remember, I forget the case, it'll come to me, I'm sure, after the show, but where there was a reporter who was embedded with the LAPD on an investigation, and that ended up compromising to some degree the case itself, the criminal case itself. So there are issues here. There's always going to be
Well,
issues.
And this wasn't even so much that. This wasn't an issue of us being compromising the way we were reporting it. This was an issue of, look, a lot of people send us tips, right? And they may, and then we got this one tip where somebody's life is at risk, and we see that as a unicorn.
Have a good night, Donna. Thank you for joining us today.
And, and if they want more than information directly related to that one person, what we're doing is we're compromising people who we've promised anonymity to. And we're not going to do that.
Which is the definition of source.
Right. And we're not going to do that. And, I don't blame them for asking, but we pushed back and they were very reasonable about it. I mean, I got to say that the experience has been collegial in the sense that there hasn't been this, screw you, we need it. They've been respectful of the boundaries. And even though they've tried pushing them from time to time, they've never kind of cemented themselves in an unreasonable request. And
so
I just find that interesting.
If I take your analysis or your source saying that they're shaking the trees or trying to find they've reached the dead end, do you believe then that the first note that you got that was subsequent to the two local Tucson's is their best lead right now, that's what they're down to? And that's the reason they've returned to laser focus on that, because everything else has not panned out?
I don't know everything, obviously, but what I do know tells me that in the universe I'm looking at, this is their absolute best lead. Yes, I think it's
yeah. That's my guess as well, and it's based on what you said, not last week but the week.
And if that's true, that's sadly pathetic.
Before that makes the most sense, because that clearly the authorities who are advising Savannah and Savannah believe that must be the best lead because they acted on that.
Yeah.
And there was information, it was interactive based on that, which means that there is something significant. Maybe you know it and just won't say it, but there must be something significant in that note that gives people the confidence to have relied on it. There has to be something.
I will just say this, that there is something where they talk about where the watch that she wore, where it was in the house, which is
right.
unique. But the bigger thing is that they talk about a white floodlight that was destroyed. As soon as I saw that word destroyed, I just thought to myself, I wouldn't, if I saw a light that was busted up, I'd say the light's busted up or it's, damaged or, there's glass all over the place. That word destroyed just got me. I thought, who says destroyed sounds like something you do? It's like if I just, well, I'm serious. If I notice a broken light on the ground, it's a broken light. But if it's a destroyed light, I kicked it in, and if it's a white light.
I destroyed it. I get that. But to me, you kind of buried the thing. You didn't bury it, but the watch to me, because the watch was connected to the pacemaker, I think that's probably the thing that got everybody's attention.
People knew she had a watch because she would show it sometimes when she took pictures with Savannah. So people knew she had this white Apple Watch. What they didn't know was where it was placed in the house when the police came. Nor did they
also didn't know that it had been left there.
That's true. And the other thing is, I'm telling you, this light, I feel like this light got kicked in because that person surveyed the property, saw a light and didn't want his image shown, and he kicked it in. That's every time I hear that word destroyed and look at it, I just think that's an aggressive word. So let me tell you one other thing. So they've been looking at, a lot of things, just items that this guy was wearing and, all the video, obviously. And they've been asking people for tips about suspicious people in the neighborhood. A couple of days ago, I talked with law enforcement and they were saying to me, and this is something we talked about a little bit on TMZ. It's what you don't see that they're interested in now, because now we're 3 weeks in. So anybody in the Tucson area know about a guy that they interacted with who was like 5'9", 5'10", maybe had a backpack that looked like that or a jacket that looked like that? Somebody who is tech savvy, perhaps smart, if you believe that this ransom letter is real. He's definitely smart and tech savvy. Anybody know anybody in this area that stopped walking their dog like 3 weeks ago? Some guy that fits that general description, mustache, beard, where he stopped walking his dog, or somebody that you used to see at the bar all the time that suddenly disappeared, or, that you saw in the grocery store and suddenly he's not there for 3 weeks. And I think it's a really clever way of finding somebody, because now all of a sudden people are thinking, oh yeah, I used to see a guy that looked like that, and I haven't seen him in the last 3 weeks. All of a sudden, that could be a real lead, and they want that now, and they're looking for that now, and I just find that really interesting.
It is interesting, but it also supports the source, the FBI source that told you they really are shaking the trees, because that becomes a sense of circling back and starting all over again from ground zero.
But it's a good idea, because now
a great idea.
You got height, you got average build, you got the kind of things he was wearing, you've got mustache, beard, lives in Tucson, the Tucson area. I mean,
well, does your FBI source or the people you're talking to explain why it was that the helicopter to detect the low-level emittance from
Good
the
night,
pacemaker
Michelle.
was not used or was waited so long to be used?
I don't know why they waited on that. But I also look, that person may we've seen cases where they're almost hiding in plain sight, where they go 2 blocks and that's where they are. So it could be that. Look, the person who's sending us these notes is saying essentially that it's Mexico. And I know that the FBI early on went to the federal Mexican officials and said, tell your local police departments to be on the lookout for Nancy or a kidnapper. And they have come up dry there.
Thank you, RC.
They don't believe that she was immediately taken to Mexico, if ever taken to Mexico. So they just don't know. I mean, the one thing that, the letter does tell me by saying that it will take 12 hours, maximum 12 hours to get her back is this is in the Tucson area. And I think at least that gives them something geographic to go on. But yeah, I mean, we are 3 weeks in and, they're throwing lines out in the water, but they haven't caught a fish. And
it's distressing, obviously, to a lot of people.
I mean,
very distressing.
What do you do if you're the Guthrie family? I mean, it's funny because I think of Elizabeth Smart, where there is hope, even long after the disappearance. But, how do you live if this just goes on and on and frankly starts going off the front page, where there are other things.
Then resources get pulled back.
Right.
I mean, there's already a lot of people that are concerned over the resources, or I should say engaged over the resources, or disproportionate use of the resources. I mean, you always hear that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's a horrible situation to be in. I'm not encouraged by the way that they've run into dead ends. I mean, that is not the most encouraging thing I've heard during this investigation.
One of the most shocking things I heard when the sheriff came out, remember they opened the crime scene up. They took all the tape away and it was no longer a crime scene. Then the FBI comes in and says, oh, what you haven't done this, you haven't done this, you haven't done this. So they make a new crime scene after they opened it.
Thank you so much for that, Sluther. God bless. It was very sweet, very generous of you, as always. Always so gracious of you. Thank you so much. God bless.
To people. And the sheriff was asked, what do you say about this? And he said, well, they'll deal with it in court.
Eve Online is
I mean, that's a breathtaking response. That is a breathtaking response. That we'll deal with it in court. If we catch the guy,
I have a lot to say about that. Yeah, they will deal with it in court. Hopefully they get to the point where they deal with it in court.
I thought of O.J. Simpson as soon as I heard that because I remember it. And they just
virtually every case I've ever tried, I can think of it.
Well, and a lot of them are fine points that criminal defense lawyers make a big deal of. It literally is a mountain out of it is a mountain out of a molehill. Here, it's a mountain. They opened the crime scene
all
up.
day long. They took a molehill and they created a mountain by what they did. In fact, it's kind of short-sighted to say that we'll deal with it in court. If you are somebody, and here we are, fast forward 3 weeks out, somebody who was genuinely concerned with using the crime scene in order to solve the case, your default should not be, we'll deal with it in court. You should be concerned that you may have destroyed something that could have been a lead, obviously.
And then the final thing is, there has been a lot of chatter on social media where people have tried to enhance the video of this guy at the door, and that they believe they see behind him a figure that looks like a person, a flashlight, and to the other side of the screen, even a car or a headlight. And people are making a big deal of this. I did check with law enforcement. They have enhanced this way more than the super sleuths online. And they are quite confident there is nobody behind this guy. But this is a thing that's circulating a lot online. So look, if you believe the guy who's sending us these demand letters, there is more than one person. But according to the authorities that we've spoken with, there is nobody visible behind the kidnapper.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree that this is more than one person.
Yeah.
Fit of genius.
Wow, that was
Absolute fit of genius.
yes, for sure. Wow, what ridiculousness. Oh boy.
Anything they find at that crime scene at this point, it's not going to be admissible in court. The only way at this point now is if they literally find Nancy Guthrie at the kidnapper's house. That's about the only way they're going to be able to convict him at this point.
Yeah.
Because everything you find at that house comes off the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing that the kidnappers could, in theory, do is just let her go.
This is nuts, guys. It's nuts. And it's 21 days. This is 2020. Jesus. This is just too long. Way too long.
And I don't know how many days are in a renewable subscription as far as for her heart medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not old enough to be taking medicine, so I would imagine you got a little bit more experience in that. Old man.
Shut up. I knew that was coming.
But
anyway,
I would imagine at the 30 days, now you're in serious trouble.
Mm-hmm. Oh, depending on what her heart issue is, 1 day could be detrimental. 2 days is forget it.
Yeah, but I'm assuming they had like some sort of medicine pre-hand.
Well, here's the thing: is based on the initial statements that were released, that her medications were at the house, her phone was there, things like that. Everything was left there, but then when they were when they dropped the warrant for Carlos Palazuela to go through his house and trash it, one of the things on the list of the warrant was they were looking for victim medication, medical devices, life-sustaining devices, I'm guessing, or who knows, wheelchairs, walkers, CPAP machine, who knows exactly, but medical devices and victims' medications. So I feel like they may have taken some things with them. 41 minutes inside the house, they took something out of that house, in my opinion, but don't know what. And yeah, hopefully it was enough to something. Guys, we could all be wrong, for those of us that think Nancy may be deceased at this point, and she's alive and well and doing okay, and that would be amazing. That would answer lots of prayers. It's hard to feel that way at this point because of the time that it's been. I don't know, but I just would love to feel comfortable that the law enforcement handling this knows what they're doing. And at this point, you guys, seeing that last piece we watched there and everything else we've seen, I feel like nobody has a clue what the hell is going on in this case. Nobody. That's a problem. So 21 days in, that's a huge problem, folks. If there's no leads, what the hell? Now, do I believe that they have some ideas in the background that we don't know about? Sure. But I don't think that they're that strong. And for that to be real, that's really sad. That's all I can say is it's really sad. So, as much as we say that this person in the camera on the front porch is an amateur, guess what? He knows enough to be part of somebody or something. I'm not saying him himself, but whatever group he's involved in, they're smart enough to be able to get away with this for 21 days and stump the police. That's the thing that's bothering me.
Yeah, it might be more than what everyone thinks.
Exactly.
Too, she had the door on the sides of the front door entrance, left and right. She had a glass window.
Yeah.
So he's taken those picks up those flowers or whatever they were, and he's trying to maybe block that.
What I think
Look
he
at
was
the
doing,
doorbell; it's right next to it.
what I think he was doing, Cap, is he was taking. There's a clip on the back of the Nest camera that you just have to be able to depress, and it'll detach the camera from the mount. I think he was taking the weeds to go down behind it to slide over that little clip to depress to remove the camera, and then, which you didn't really have to do. You could just pull hard enough and it'll pop out. But that's what I think he was doing. So
Yeah, when the SWAT teams come in, they do raids and stuff. I seen them like videos of it, and they would come right up to it and put a piece of blue tape, some kind of blue tape, right over it. I would sneak up, put the blue tape on, and they would go in like a SWAT team for mock warrant or something like that.
yeah, that's say that very last part, Cap. What you just said, the very end to that.
About the camera.
Say that again.
About
I don't know. You keep breaking up for some reason.
about the camera.
Yeah. Just the very end of it.
No, I was just saying that maybe he was using that to block the windows.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, that's what I think it was that whole camera detaching thing, which, like I said, they obviously got it off of there. But that's all I thought that was, unfortunately.
Or that like kind of blocking his face as much as he could while he took the camera off.
Yeah. They didn't, and that part of it seemed very unprofessional. So I still wondered if while he was doing that, there was somebody else either in the house already or somebody around the backside or the side of the house going in, getting in from that direction while he was doing that. That's just an opinion I have. Because I think truly that there were at least 2 people at the house that night or that morning. And I think there's maybe 2 or 3 other people involved on the outside of this as well in other ways. You know what I mean? That's just been my opinion on this for quite a while.
Yeah, maybe 2 people inside and then one as a driver out
Yeah.
waiting outside.
Yeah, there definitely has to be a vehicle to take her away from there, which we don't see or hear nothing about at this point. And it doesn't make sense. I know they didn't throw her over their shoulder and carry her out or put her on the back of a bicycle. We know that never happened. So yeah, there's some things that need to come together for this to make more sense, in my opinion, for sure. So, just saying.
Yeah, and it could be the person that we saw on the on the camera. He's the young, inexperienced one. While
that's what I think. Yes, Dylan. Yeah. I think he's probably the youngest or the least experienced person within this entire group. And hence the reason they said, "Hey, go handle this. We're going to deal with this over here." Blah blah blah. So, and that's what I truly think it is. Because he was very inexperienced looking, but look, at the same time, we see 21 days later that this situation is unsolved, and they have no clues really pointing to anything. So, they have to be in at least in that aspect somewhat professional. Is all I'm saying. So,
The only way I could see him getting her out of the house with a wheelchair, then if you scoot the wheelchair up to like a sliding door van, front wheels up, and then pick the back up, and then go right in.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that sounds sensible to me is using a wheelchair.
Yeah, if they did it that way, sure. I mean, I think they could have just carried her out because it was dark, and I believe they only moved her in the dark. Threw her into a vehicle, unfortunately. Maybe if they took a wheelchair so they could mobilize her when they get her wherever they're taking her, things like that, yes. But there's a lot of little details that need to be expressed to make this more understandable is the point that I was making for sure. But yeah, that's a good point, Cap.
Yeah, she probably had one at home. They, usually they have one at home with the doctor's visits and stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that's the only way I could think of it, like put her in a wheelchair, wheel her out.
Yeah. Sure.
But the blood is discerning. So, the blood is
Yes.
discerning because you don't know how bad it is. We don't know how bad it is inside the house. So,
Right.
was she injured?
That's what I'd like to know is how much blood was in the house. Where was it? Exactly what type of blooding, Jesus, like pulling or spatter or whatever it was that they find. That would help to give some explanation to some other things within this as well, in my opinion. So, just saying. But
somebody had mentioned there was mucus. With that blood
mixed within that blood, so it came from her
so.
mouth or her nose. Absolutely, yeah. Which could have just been that could have been done purposely or accidentally. She could have been hit, pistol whipped or hit her face on the door. Somebody could have smacked her in the mouth or something if she tried to scream or yell. Anything could have happened for that to happen. So we don't know. That's the sad part. But
sure.
Again, my wishes for this is that she's found alive and healthy, and at least in somewhat healthy shape, so that she can be brought back to good health for the family and her sake as well. So I'm always sending out prayers and thoughts to the family and Nancy herself. And hopefully we'll get some more information on this soon enough, and or it's solved quickly, guys, because it's been way too long, in my opinion. So, any last thoughts, Dylan, before we get out of here?
A little off topic, but always be careful with noise canceling headphones when someone's trying to call for you, because when they come to you, they scare the crap out of you.
There you go. There's your tip of the day, folks. So thank you.
The headphones that I had. The headphones that I had to turn to was that are noise canceling. So anything that happens around me, I wouldn't be able to tell. House on fire, alarm going off.
Mine are like that too. I don't hear anything.
No.
Exactly. All right, gentlemen. Again, thank you so much for joining us up here today. Hemi, you as well, my friend. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys so very much. Make sure to tune in tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, over at Devil's Advocates. It is our first episode this evening as we delve into what really happened to Princess Diana situation. If anybody's interested, please be there. Definitely love to see you guys. Myself, 1-1, Miss Robin, and Logan from Bronx Tales True Crime are there on Sunday nights as we cover this old cold case, but very interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing you guys as well. Don't forget to love yourselves and love each other, folks. Don't change nothing. You guys are the beautiful people, and I can't wait to hang out with you guys again. See you guys very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
The coffee's cold, the final stain. We laid the map out in the pouring rain. No hidden corners left to creep. The dark truth woke while the city was asleep. The evidence lines up straight and true. A perfect picture of what they life is empty.